Bobby?
Yes, sir.
I'm ready. All right. Well, I call this meeting to order. It's 4 o'clock on September the 16th, 2024. Glad to see the crowd here. Mr. Smith is going to lead us in a prayer, and Commissioner Thomas is going to lead us in the pledge to the flag.
Pray with me. Father, we're so thankful for the good day and just for the opportunity to be here and to live in this county, and just pray that you be with us this day as we consider the business of this county, and give us wisdom, give us direction and the way that we should go to do the thing that's best for this county, and just continue to be with us as we serve not only this community but one another. And Father, just we thank you for those, our county employees, and those that are first responders, our law enforcement, and our fire rescue and emergency management, and just all those that take care of us. And just pray you continue to be with them, and just continue to be with our country, Father, as we at this time we get ready for an election, and just pray that your will be done, and the things for our country will be the way they should be. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Mr. Ed, with the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, if we weren't mistaken, I think the ice cream truck just passed us a few minutes ago. But the ice cream truck is gone now, so we can continue with our meeting. I did not live in an area where an ice cream truck came by growing up, but I had an uncle that I used to spend time with. And every afternoon about 4 o'clock, the ice cream truck would come down his road playing that song. And we knew if we had $1 in our pocket, we could get us some ice cream. So I don't know if $1 would buy you ice cream today, but back then it would. So brought back some good memories of when I was a kid anyway. All right, we will move right on down the agenda. Do we have any agenda changes?
I have none, Mr. Chairman.
I just have one short announcement under my report. that's
Okay.
not on there.
All right, do we have a motion to approve the agenda? All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, we have had a few minutes to look at the, you had a few days actually, if you got your email, to look at the consent agenda. Are there any questions?
I have a question. What's the GCS outdoor invoice? What's that?
That is for the new fire station, so that'll be grant funded. And what we're trying to do is do direct purchasing so that we save the sales tax on those, and that's what that invoice is for.
Thank you.
Yeah, motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, got a motion by Commissioner Smith, a second by Commissioner Sharon Langford to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. This is a chance in the meeting. You'll have 2 chances today for the public to participate. If you're not on the agenda and you would like to address the board on a subject, now is your time to do so. You'll also get a chance at the end of the meeting to address us if something comes up that you want to talk about. Is there any public participation? Come on up, sir, if you would. Come up to the stand and give us your name and address us from the stand if you can.
If you're here to speak about a special use permit, that will be shortly.
Yeah, if you're here and your object is on the agenda, we'll have a time for you in a minute. This is for items that are not on the agenda. All right, anybody? All right, we will move on. Any constitutional officers here that wish to speak? All right, then we will move on to our county administrator's report.
Yes, sir. The first item that I have today is under item number 6, General North Florida Professional Service Task Work Order. If you remember, we recently received and approved grant funding for Northeast 30th. A lot of people know it as Dixie Grade, for the engineering and design. reached out to, North Florida Professional Services, and they presented us with a task order for the design for $188,000. That is grant funded, that is paid in full by the FDOT grant. So if we could get an approval for that, we can move forward.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we got a motion to approve the North Florida Professional Services Task Work Order for, Northeast 30th Street. We got a motion by Commissioner Langford and a second by Commissioner Langford. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion carries.
Just as a quick reminder on this project on Dixie Grade, about a year or so back, a couple of years now, probably, we actually funded, we actually paid for the survey work with our, transportation impact fees, which have to go towards road, repaving. And so North Florida Professionals did that part for us already. So so North Florida will finish this up with this grant. So
Robbie, I think I saw where by the end of the year, they would have this ready to go out for bid. Is that?
well, what we're gonna have to do is reach back out to, FDOT and get approval to go out to bid. This grant is just for design. We gotta make sure when we will be funded we'll be funded next year, but we need to find out roughly when they think that funding will come through, because we can't go out to bid too soon. So we may have to wait a little while to go out to bid once we get the design, just so we don't meet that window and prices go up and we have to rebid.
So that would be the next state budget year, which is next July.
Right.
That's
I would say if we're going out to bid to be safe, we're probably going out to bid like in July, because we'll be getting the contract starting after July 1. And then that way we don't have too long of a window between the bid and getting the grant. The bids are no longer any good.
All right.
The next item is B. It's the grant with the state of Florida. We've approved and we've already been awarded the grant for the, firehouse, but the fire station, new fire station, for $777,400 from appropriations. We just received the grant. We had to get the design done before they would send us the grant paperwork. So we did that. So now we just need to approve the grant. This way we can start submitting for refunds as we go along.
Motion to approve.
All right,
I did have, one request, on page 13 of the agreement. It says the grantee's payee, is the Gilchrist County Board of County Commissioners, but it has the EOC address. I think that should be updated to be the board's address,
the board's address instead of the,
the EOC.
okay. What is, Mr. Lang, is that?
What page is that on?
Page
13, I believe.
13.
You're talking about the payee's address?
Oh, okay, I got you. We'll have the remittance changed.
And it's showing 3250 North US Highway? Is that what
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
want to change to PO Box 37?
Well, we've been changing it to 209. Are you okay with the 209? That way we got a copy to go with the grant, and then we just walk it across the street. You okay with it? Yeah. We'll have that changed.
Okay, mister, do you agree with the change in the address?
Yes.
With a noted change? Is
Second.
there a second?
Yeah.
Got a motion by Commissioner Thomas, a second by Commissioner Smith to approve the grant agreement with the state of Florida, with the change in the address. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion carries. Short administrator's report today. So we can move on to the attorney's report if we'd like, which will happen, I guess, at the time certain. So do we move on? Oh, you said you had one thing.
Yeah, I
you
just
wanted to
had,
mention? Go
I just
ahead.
wanted, something I wanted to inform the board of, the solar appeal case, the court rendered a final order in that case on August the 16th. Diane Hyde and Charles Hyde, appearing pro se now without an attorney, has filed a motion to reconsider the order that was granted, dismissing the amended petition for writ of certiorari and the incorporated memorandum of law. And Ms. Boyce has filed a response, a timely response to that. So that's still sort of up in the air until the court makes a decision on whether or not to reconsider the order that was granted.
Well, it's not over yet. We
That's
thought it was
correct.
over, but it's not over.
That's the long and the short of it. It's
And
not
so-
over yet.
As they say, the large lady has not sung yet. They always,
Mr. Lang, also, I talked to you earlier, and just for the public, I think Duke Energy has joined, or how does that, what's the terminology related to us defending that?
Yeah, they have joined in the response in the initial appeal as well as in this, response. They filed a response to petitioner's motion to reconsider, and they've joined in as another party on behalf of their company as well as the county. And they actually entered into this agreement, Duke Energy did, as well as Patrice Boyce with the filing that was done.
all right. We will move on to the clerk's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The only item in my report today is the Meridian annual agreement. This is just annual contract, and it is in the amount that was agreed to during the budget workshops and is what is in our budget for next year. Need a motion to approve the new agreement.
So moved.
All right. We have a motion and a second to approve the Meridian Behavioral Funding Agreement. Got a motion by Commissioner Langford, a second by Commissioner Thomas to approve that. All those in favor signify by
Well,
saying aye.
I had a question.
All opposed?
I had a question.
All right,
I had a question real quick.
question,
The amount, the 62,521, Mr. Clerk, that is the correct amount that we agreed upon during the budgeting,
That's correct.
and it's payable in quarterly installments.
Yes, sir. That's our typical.
Okay. You might ask for public comment, Mr. Bill, and
all right.
then call for your vote.
Is there any comment on the agreement with Meridian on the Meridian agreement, we have the funding agreement? All right, seeing no comment, then we'll leave it as passed. All right.
Did we vote? We had a motion and a second. I don't know. Did
Did
they
we
vote?
vote? I thought we
did vote.
voted and it passed.
I'm
I made
I'm
it,
just second guessing.
I
that's
passed
all.
it and then I thought, well, then you told me we needed to ask the,
I didn't want you
the
to leave
public,
and it
so-
needed voting on, so that's why I spoke.
okay.
That's fine.
All
My
right,
fault.
the only else we have is, time certains. They don't start till 4:30. We got 15 minutes, so let's real quick, if the commissioners don't mind giving their reports early, we'll give those. And then we will take a few minute break before we start the time certains.
Yeah, the only thing, Mr. Crosby, you heard anything from Mr. Wesley with the health department in regards to the septic tank?
No, ma'am, not yet, but they are staying on, they're monitoring it, and
Okay.
he said as soon as he had something that he could, you know,
And then also, I don't know if I told you this at the last meeting, but find out if it goes into effect this December or next December.
Okay.
I think that's it.
All right, Commissioner Smith?
Yeah, one suggestion was kind of related to the solar challenge and us recovering our legal fees. I don't know what the rest of the board thinks, but it seems like we ought to pursue recovering our costs with those, and maybe we have a general policy when somebody sues the county and we prevail, then we seek to recover those costs. And, I don't know if we could do that in every case. I know talking with you, Mr. Lang, earlier, there's some things that help define whether you can actually recover costs or not. And so if you have any thoughts or recommendations, and just something, I don't know if we want to do it now or later.
Well, yeah, I'll speak to that real briefly. Basically, there's a Florida statute that says you can recover attorney's fees and costs when there's a non-justiciable issue involved in the case, which more or less means that the case was basically brought and it was frivolous. There were no issues that needed to be resolved. And you have to file a motion for those attorney's fees and costs. I believe it's under Chapter 57. Don't hold me with that, but I think that's correct. And then you have to have a separate hearing with the court and ask for imposition of those costs that were imposed. Now, when you have lawsuits that are paid for by the county's insurance company, that's kind of up to the insurance company whether or not they want to seek reimbursement, because you're not out of any money when the insurance company defends you. Now, we've had a couple cases going on where, we're having to, pay the legal fee for the representation that's not covered by insurance. And when that case is completely resolved, then of course you can ask counsel or have her address that issue and see how we want to proceed with that. But I believe in her motion, I believe in that response, they did ask for attorney's fees and costs there. But that's something that'll have to come down after this is all resolved. Okay?
Did that include the dairy case also that we got sued for?
Well, we'll have to talk about that. There's been a passage of time there, and also that's more, in my way of thinking, that's more in keeping with perhaps a justiciable issue of whether or not the county had the right to deny the road crossing permits in that particular case. Is that something that a judge needed to determine, or was that a frivolous lawsuit that they brought against the county? So you don't want to expend more valuable taxpayers' resources fighting a battle that you can't potentially win because you don't really have an issue or a leg to stand on to justify that. So the statute is actually written for those cases where there's not an issue, and you can ask for reimbursement of attorney's fees and costs.
What about ABC Trust,
That was paid for by insurance.
insurance company?
That's correct. So that would be up to the insurance company,
Okay,
this county's insurance.
yeah,
carrier.
yeah, I understand.
Okay, okay.
So, the other thing I was gonna mention is, talked with Bobby the other day about developing some annual priorities and maybe at the end of the year, an annual report. There's lots of things that are happening, and I think if all of us provide some input on what we think the top 5 priorities are, or top 10 priorities are, maybe that helps us through the year to focus on those things. And, I just listed a few that I know we're already working on. Like the roads, the paving, the repaving. I know we're working to strengthen our, and I think we've made progress, with the road department and the leadership and the management. Solid waste facility was one. I thought about budget evaluation and our process, smart growth, just to name a few. And maybe we all think about that, and at a future meeting, maybe before the end of the year, we can come up with what we think the most important things are. Maybe it's economic development, maybe it's recreation, I don't know, but there are lots of things we could do, and we only have so much staff time to focus on the most important, I think. And so just a suggestion that maybe we can give that some thought.
I think that's a great idea. If you know what your goals are, you know what you're reaching for, then, I was told when I was young, if I'd take my goals and put them on the mirror every morning when I brushed my hair, my goals would be in front of me and I'd know where to go. So if we could get some goals, then that might give us some direction on where to go. So it's a great idea. Mr. Langford?
Yeah, I agree, that's a good idea. I did talk to Bobby about a road plan here a while back. I would like for us to, it seems like we, funded our wants and needs pretty well this year, all the departments and everything, and employees and everybody else. So I'd like to look in a plan where we could maybe chip and seal, say 3 miles of road each year. If we could just have a plan to where we pick out a road and we're gonna do this road this year, that road next year. It's about $100,000 a mile. So if you did 3 miles, that's $300,000 a year. But if you'd commit that, it would help us with some of our worst dirt roads to do something different than what we're doing. I know we got the ripper now, and we can actually prepare that road ourselves and get it ready to chip and seal. And then we've got some millings and hope to get some off 138. Maybe we could look into doing, some roads each year. If we made an effort to do a little bit each year, we'd be moving in the right direction, I believe.
Maybe if the road department, since they grade the roads every month, they'll know exactly what portions of road are troublesome to keep up, and try to keep them, in good shape, where there's a hill or a slope or turn, and those could be things we could look at working on, especially if we've got the zipper now working and,
Yeah.
it's doing what it's supposed to do.
Well, I wanna make use of it for one
Right.
thing.
Yeah. I do
And
too.
if we pick out some projects for it, then that would be, helping the road department and be helping our residents, because, they use the roads every day. And, I've got several roads in mind, of course, in my district that would help, but we just have to take turns or however we work it out to try to do something in each district and get some of it, improved, because once you get it chip and sealed, it should last a pretty good while, and that takes it off the maintenance record.
right.
It takes it off the road grader schedule and everything else. So if we got the ways and the means of doing it, I think we should look at that. I'll go ask this question. I know when we installed this camera, we was gonna, maybe set it up so we could do Zoom meetings and somebody could be sitting at home right now watching the meeting going on. Are we still going in that direction?
We can, what we're still just trying to make sure that we're getting the sound and all working together, we're getting closer to that. But what they do now, instead of it being live right now, like tomorrow morning, it's posted so people can watch it. It will not be interactive even during the meeting.
Right.
It'll just be where they can watch it right then. But what they do is just make sure everything worked out well and then post it the next morning.
I just have several people, they ask me every time they see me, have y'all got it to where I can go on TV and watch it yet?
They don't have it where you can watch it right now, but in the morning, probably by 9, 10 o'clock, it'll be on our Facebook page and you can watch it.
Okay. That's good to know. The Dollar General, they've got the front doors in now, they got it where they can lock it up. I don't know, they just don't seem to be moving forward very fast for some reason. They only have one or two people down there every day, and some days they go 3 or 4 days and nobody's down there, so I guess they're not on our.
They seem to have a lot going in. Maybe they're just trying to hit each store a little bit every
Well,
day.
they're not on our schedule, they're on their schedule, that's for sure. And when she said 6 months, maybe she knew more than I did.
Okay.
But, hopefully it's looking good. Hopefully it'll come around. I know they're building one in Fort White also, right down the road.
They just finished one in Dixie right there on 19, so.
Mhm. They got a lot going on.
All right, Mr. Thomas?
I ain't got nothing.
All right, the only thing I've had, and I know it's not our responsibility, but I have noticed it myself. On 26 between Fanning Springs and Trenton, they stopped mowing the side of the road. And they mowed I know that's the state's responsibility. Do we contact DOT or whatever? Cause I've had several people saying pulling out of their driveways, they can't see until they get their nose out onto the road, cause you got 3 foot of weeds out there. Is there a reason that they're not mowing that portion?
They're having issues with their contractor, so anyone that asks you, ask them to please call Chiefland DOT. They're probably tired of hearing from me. But if you will call and tell them that you have a visibility issue, they've actually came out just and mow that spot. You know, like they'll come out.
I have a
I
comment.
had some residents from the subdivision down here,
Greenway
in
Palms,
Fannin Springs.
Fannin,
It's
yeah,
the strangest thing. They mowed one
Yeah, one
bush
5-foot strip.
hog width, all the way from Trenton to the stop sign in Fannin Springs on both sides of the road.
And
It
then,
didn't come back.
mow the rest
Now,
of it.
but today there's a tractor out there that's doing what Bobby said. It's mowing around those intersections today, where the side roads. I don't know if it's doing any wider, but it was one tractor, and I saw it stopping at several of those driveways.
They're doing that from Trenton to Bell,
One lane.
one night.
Yep.
Yeah, they were out mowing
I've
between,
never seen that done before.
Trenton and
Safety
Newberry
strip.
last week, the DOT. It was actually one of their tractors.
Yeah.
They have a
and-
problem with their contract, is that what it is?
Yep.
Yes, yes.
All right.
And I think that was a DOT tractor now that you.
This was a DOT.
DOT has mowing what they call a safety strip. That's what that narrow strip is.
All right, well, we got 5 minutes before anything else. We got 5 minutes before our first time certain, so we're gonna take a 5-minute break and we'll be back for 4:30.
Half time, so go home, right? 4:29.
Cause I like it, man.
You?
Where learn.
Bobby, we ready to continue? Y'all ready? All right. All right, we'll call this meeting back to order. It's 4:30. We'll move on to our, first time certain. It's, SUP 2024-05. And I will turn it over to Mr. Lane to lead us through these time certains.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a quasi judicial hearing, because it's site specific. At the conclusion of the hearing, the board will render a decision on requested action. The board decision must be based upon substantial competent evidence presented. Mere opinion is not substantial competent evidence. The chairman, commission members, party, or staff can raise an objection to irrelevant and immaterial testimony or evidence or testimony that's unduly cumulative or repetitious of previously presented testimony. At this time, if any board members had any ex parte or outside communication with the applicant or members of the public on this, you should disclose that on the record now to remove any presumption of prejudice.
I got several emails from residents out there, I need to,
Nothing from the applicant, just the resident.
just the residents and nothing, written other than what they wrote me. in
Do we
the
need to
email.
disclose who they were?
You do.
Okay, you may do mine first.
Okay, cause you're probably gonna be the
Um,
same ones.
Ricky Rose, Lynette Langford, Jessica Wright, James Cade Wright, Dustin Cox, and James Sewell.
Okay.
Same ones I have.
Same ones you have, Mr. Chairman?
About the same as what,
But I had
Same
some of
with
those
me.
as well.
Okay. Let the record reflect that Mr. Langford and Kenrick have the same communications,
Yes,
and
yes.
Daryl, and Daryl. Also, if any board member has any sort of conflict of interest in this matter, you should disclose that on the record at this time and file a Florida memorandum, Form 8B with the clerk. Okay. Hearing none, here's our order of proceedings. Staff will present the application, followed by questions from the board. The applicant will then make their presentation, if any, followed by questions from the board. There can be rebuttal of testimony by staff or applicants, followed by public input, evidence and comment. Then the board will make their deliberations. The board can approve the matter, deny the matter, or approve the matter with conditions. Are there any questions? Hearing none. We have Mr. Brandon Stubbs here from North Florida Professionals that's going to present on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners. At this time, would you like to be sworn? Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, our staff member has been sworn, Mr. Chairman. He's free to proceed.
Good evening, Chair, members of the board. Brandon Stubbs, I'm the Planning and Grants Manager for North Florida Professional Services. And I'm here, as your liaison or your staff. And, this item before you is a special use permit 2024-05. Is a request for a special use permit for a rifle, shotgun, and pistol range in accordance with section 2.06.02 subparen V of the Land Development Code, and it's located within an agricultural 2 or A2 zone or land use district. The subject property contains approximately 55 acres. There is some maps and legal description that is included. The parcel number for the subject property is 26-09-16-0003-0003. And it's located in section 26, township 9 south, range 16 east, Gilchrist County, Florida. The applicant is Lee Mason. He is the owner of the property. And the property, to give you kind of an idea where the property is located, it's off of County Road 337. The north of the property is vacant agricultural lands. There are some single-family residences to the north, but not immediately adjacent. To the south, you have agricultural lands and single-family residences, but not on the immediately adjacent properties. And then you also have to the east, County Road 337, some vacant agricultural lands and residential uses. And to the west, you have vacant residential lands and single-family residences as well. The property is zoned A2, which requires a minimum of 5 acres. So it does meet the minimum criteria for the A2 zone district. The floor area ratio is a 0.25, which they, comply with that as well.
Can I
Yeah.
hold you up just a moment?
Sure.
Can you, y'all hear in the back there? You can or cannot? No, they're saying they can't hear.
Okay, I can try to talk louder, but it's kind of echoing in my ears, so,
It is kind of reverberating. I don't
yeah. If you turn to page 5, the staff report, there's a map right there, that's a vicinity map, you can see County Road 337. You can see the vacant properties to the north, south, and to the east. And then across the street to the west, you do have residents that are across on 337. On page 6, it goes into section 12.03.03, subsection C, which is standards for a special use permit. The subject property, for number 1, the proposed use associated development is consistent with the Gilchrist County Comprehensive Plan and complies with all required regulations and standards within the Land Development Code and other applicable regulations. Article 1, the future land use element of the comprehensive plan establishes criteria for special use permits and states that when a special use permit is used, that would not be appropriate generally or without restrictions throughout the land use classification, but if controlled as to the number, area, or location would promote a public health, safety, welfare, morals, order, comfort, convenience, and appearance, prosperity, or general welfare. And further, it states that before any land use permit shall be granted, the county shall make the findings that granting the special use permit will not adversely affect the public health, safety, welfare. And as you've had time to read through my staff report, there is analysis of each one of these standards. I hate to go through and try to read all these, but I will hit the highlights. The applicant has provided an analysis of compliance with the comprehensive plan and land development code, and the applicant has contended that they do meet the requirements. In reviewing that, staff has not found that they violate any comp plan standards or policies or land development code policies. And then number 2, the general compatibility with the be in harmony with the adjacent uses and structures. At this time, there's no existing adjacent uses. It's all farmland adjacent. They're vacant. They're pretty large parcels. I think each one's roughly to the north and south is roughly 55 acres. The parcel to the east is substantially larger. It's well over 55 acres. And again, those are right now they're not being utilized for single family. So the property to the west across 337 is. So the general compatibility, there is no issue with compatibility because there's nothing adjacent to it for farmland. Necessarily public infrastructure is available to the proposed site, and that the requirements of concurrency management have been filled. Again, this is a gun range. There's no requirement for public infrastructure such as water, sewer, electric, any of that. Now they may choose to have electric out there if they have, if they decide they want to put in like a little bathroom or something. If they don't, but ultimately they're not required to have restroom facilities or be required to have electric, sewer, water because it's not a requirement for a gun range. So they do meet the requirements for public infrastructure. And with concurrency management, generally the way that concurrency management is looked at is you have transportation, potable water, sanitary sewer, solid waste for commercial type uses. Regarding transportation, is not really there's no way to fully indicate the impacts from a public transportation or from a transportation perspective. The reason why is for public, for anything to do with trip generation, what's used is what's called the Institute for Transportation Engineering. They come out with a manual, it's a concurrency manual, which establishes the number of trips based upon a certain criteria. Gun ranges are not listed there. I tried to do some research, see if there was some other, research on transportation and gun ranges. There's not. However, what I can say is this is a gun range that is by appointment only. So you have to have an appointment to be able to access the gun range. You have to have, there's instructors there. So
It is open to the public, only to the public by appointment.
correct. Yes, sir, that's correct. So, there can be, if you were to, look at, my analysis there based upon the number of basically firing ranges that they have. So they have a limited number of spaces per range. And what I did was took that and assumed that basically you have one person per range and they were occupying that range for an hour, and every hour they were booked full. So basically the maximum that they could. And when analyzing that, they basically equaled out to about 16 PM peak trips, which is almost de minimis, in expensive concurrency. So there's no real issues related to transportation. Again, they don't require sewer water, so there's no impacts to water and sewer. Solid waste, again, that's very, very minimal. So there's not any, consider to be any issues related to solid waste concurrency. The last requirement deals with screening, buffer, dimensions, and types of character to improve compatibility and harmony with adjacent and nearby uses. There are some maps that we'll look at later, but the applicant has basically provided a landscape berm all the way around the property. So if y'all had a chance to look at it, there were some pictures that they submitted of the existing berms that they constructed. Those berms go all the way down the side and all the way around the back. In fact, there's actually multi-layered berms within the, so they have provided visual as well as sound, and it's a safety thing too, but that also helps out with sound, it helps out with visualization. So they have provided some buffer. On page 8 of my staff report, consistent with the comprehensive plan, again, they have complied with the comp plan standards within the future land use element. There's not really many other elements within the comprehensive plan that relate to gun ranges, but, and then you can see the future land use map there, zoning is A2. There's no wetlands on the subject property, therefore there's no issue with wetland impacts. The soils, even though I did do a soils analysis, this is a gun range, so it's not really applicable. They're not building anything. It's not like they're going out there and building a big old huge warehouse or something that requires engineering for soils. Potential flood, it's not located within a FEMA designated flood zone, so there's no potential or issues with flood and all that. I mean, again, it's a gun range, so it's not located within any stream watershed. As far as minerals, it's just sand out there. There's no historic resources or historic, significance to the site. The property is in a high aquifer recharge, but we are in North Florida, so 90% of the park. There's no vegetative communities or wildlife out there. It's pretty much all pasture land. It was pasture land before they purchased it. And then getting to transportation or the impacts. I did do an analysis on County Road 337, as you can see, which is a 2-lane undivided major collector. It's a rural road. The level of service is not provided within the comprehensive plan, but assuming general level of service would be. I did do again, my own analysis of a gun range based upon the maximum range, slots within the range that they had. So the average annual daily trips based upon maximum capacity, and again, that's all ranges full all day long from start to finish, will be 165 trips per day, with 16 of those being at the PM peak hours. As you can see on County Road 337, the existing maximum service volume is for 14,200. Existing traffic is 2,300 trips per day, leaving a capacity of 11,900 trips minus the projected trips would still leave you a capacity of 11,735 trips per day. And then for the PM peak, you have a 1350 as your max service volume. Existing traffic is 218 during PM peak, which leaves you a residual of 1,132 trips available. With this proposed use occupying 16, you got a residual of 1,116 trips. And again, no impact to potable water, sanitary sewer, solid waste, recreation, or public schools. And then on the last page, you'll see staff recommendations. These are minimal recommendations. The board may wish to be more stringent or adopt staff recommendations or create your own recommendations or conditions. But I do feel like these are at minimum the recommendations or conditions for approval. Any questions?
It does not have any nighttime hours, correct?
Correct. The latest would be 7 PM, but obviously during the winter when it got dark, that wouldn't apply. But
Sunrise to sunset.
kind of, yeah, and again, we can clarify that, that no shooting after sunset, 7 PM or no hours is board. I just put 7 because typically during most of the time of the year, except that, 3 or 4 months out of the year, they wouldn't be able to even go to 7.
I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
On their application towards the back, it talked about, Tuesday through Saturday, 10 to 5, but then what you have on page 12 is different, so the times are different.
Yeah, that
And the
might have been,
days are different.
In the summary, it says active shooting won't be allowed and from 10 to 5, they'll be closed on Sunday and Monday. In your summary reports we're
yeah.
talking about.
But in their back,
Yeah, that was my thing.
your times are different because they said the hours of operation will consider neighboring homes. Typically, the range will be closed from active shooting on Sundays and Mondays. And then Tuesday through Saturday, the range will be open 10 to 5. So that's conflicting on what you have on page 12. So notice that.
Yeah, and they had gone through some renditions, so that might have been something that after we had already proposed this, they came back with, that I didn't see. But certainly, like I said, if that's what they're proposing, that's even better. I mean, we can say that if that's what we're proposing, that's what we want a recommendation. And these are, again, the minimum recommendations that so if we have more stringent proposed by the applicant, we would definitely go with that for this board's decision.
Brandon, did you say you assume one shooter per range?
Right, I mean, typically so if you had a lane, you typically you can't have one shooter at a time. Now, you might have multiple people there, like if me and my daughter go or something, and we may alternate, but it still don't change the amount of trips that will be generated. So, if I would say it'd be very rare that you would have multiple vehicles that would occupy the same range. They're not going there to just bring a bunch of vehicles and people watch and they shoot. Generally if you're going to a gun range, you're going to shoot. Well, you don't want to sit there and have to share ranges with somebody.
So the short, medium, and long would only have 3 total shooters. Is that, maybe the applicant's here and they can confirm that, but I'm just thinking about where I've been before. And up in Columbia County, I think it's the FWC has a shooting range and they allow, they basically got a table set up and probably 8 or 10 people could be on each length of range. And so I don't know if that affects anything on your calculations, if that's the case, but just a question.
I mean, even if it was the case, it's not gonna affect, let's just say, cause they have 15 members. That's the maximum that can go at one time, or shoot at one time,
How many?
15.
Okay, so if it,
So basically, I did 15 members for 11 hours that it would be open. In this case, it would actually be shorter than that because they're saying it's gonna be 10 to 5. So the range would actually be, open less than that.
what
which-
page is that on about the 15?
That's in the analysis. I think it's on page 11. If you look in the, table 3, if you look into the subparent note, there's a formula given.
There will not be any more than 15 people there at one time?
There's 15 ranges, so only one person can be shooting at any one of the 15 ranges at any given time.
So 15 people at one time.
And then if you look at my analysis on page 7, on number 3, it don't give you the calculation, but I took the calculation from the table and put it in that analysis. But it does give the calculation under table 3.
So there's a total of 15 different ranges?
15 slots, there's 3 ranges.
Okay, yeah, I didn't think those 15
Yeah,
ranges
so it's my understanding that there's 5 stations at each
at
range.
each one, okay. So 5 stations at each one of those, okay.
Okay.
Brandon,
And I'll be honest with you, you gotta qualify for the 750-yard range. And I don't know too many people that are qualified to shoot 750 yards.
I was fixing to say, one of those ranges look long enough, you could shoot mortar shots down there or something, cause
Yeah.
it's way down there.
Yeah, that's a 750-yard range, and you do have to do a 3-step qualification to be able to actually shoot on that range. So if you haven't pre-qualified for that range, you can't even shoot on that range.
I was just gonna say, I'm somewhat of a picture person. If we could get pages 37 through 41 put up there and have Brandon explain those pictures, and then go over to page 49 and 50 with the distances that are shown on the drawing, that might be somewhat helpful.
It's hard to see, but you can see the berms there. They completely surround the range.
Brandon, you want the pointer?
So this is the short range or the 100-yard range. And you can see the berm is completely surrounded, so
Is that about a 10-foot berm? Or do you know how tall it is?
I think
It's on the
stated in the drawing is 15.
15
So
feet?
the back berm is supposed to be 30 and the sides are 15. Now, they might be a little bit more than that, but I haven't been out there to actually physically measure it. But, the site plan and the indication is the
That's the 100-yard.
100-yard range has a 30-foot height, back berm, 15-foot side, berm minimum. So again, that's the 100-yard range. This is the 300-yard range. Again, it has 15-foot high side berms and a 50-foot high back berm, which is, that back berm is so hard to see, but it's right here, but you can see it kind of way up there. It's definitely a tall berm. And then you got the 750-yard range, which you're not gonna see the back berm because it's so far. But you do have, again, the 15-foot side berms, and then the back berm is way back there. Let's see. There's the back berm for the, so, that's a 300-foot yard back berm. So you see it's a substantial back berm. You can see where the bullets hit. So that's where your targets are down here, that's where the bullets are hitting, and so you have a pretty substantial area there.
Do you know if it's gonna be used in any type of competition? Or is it just for people to go out there and sight in their guns and practice shooting? Or do you know?
They didn't indicate that was gonna be used for any competition, but that wouldn't preclude them to have competitions. But should they have a competition, that would open up the question of whether a special event would be needed because of the crowd and the number of people that would be going to have a competition shooting. So that's a whole different issue in itself. They would need to come back before the board and request a special event permit.
My question is, how come it was all built before the permit was requested? Everything was done and now all of a sudden they come for a permit.
I think there was some misunderstanding with the property owner, thinking that because it was by appointment only, it was a private range, and so he didn't need a permit, but then there was a code enforcement violation. And once code enforcement got called and they were notified, then they already had all this stuff constructed, and so now they're coming before the board asking for the special use permit. Because the private range does not require
Doesn't
board approval.
require it, yeah. And not much we can do about that. Everybody can put a private. range in.
Does it meet all the rules and regulations if it's already built? I mean, was it built to design or built
There are
to site plan or?
There are best management practices through the state of Florida, and that was one of my, conditions. And I can tell you, this far exceeds anything that's in the best management practices I've ever seen. Their burn system is probably one of the most intricate that I've ever seen on a gun range. So as far as that's concerned,
The guy who built it knew what he was doing.
apparently so.
Well, I know at one time we talked about when they was actually putting in the one up there at the Ag Center for the Sheriff Department. There was an issue with, the lead that, you know, winds up in the dirt. It had to be, disposed of and all this other kind of stuff. Would they fall under any of those kind of regulations?
Those follow under the state, so that's not a, local, that's something they have to do with the state on.
So does the state inspect or monitor or get records, or how does that work?
So, it's kind of weird, the way the state regulates this, it's actually through the state, like landfill, like garbage, and landfill section of the state that monitors this and, has the best management practice, and so they would have to coordinate with them on anything like that and make sure that there's no contamination.
So the state would have no jurisdiction over this or no say-so or no nothing?
As far as the construction of it, probably not. I've checked with them before and they're kind of like, hey, we just want to make sure that they're following the best management practices, but ultimately it's up to the local government as far as siting the gun ranges. But they probably, doesn't mean they won't have other factors that they have to deal with the state with. So there, again, they could have issues with, dealing with lead or removal of dirt that may contain lead. Like I said, most bullets use some form of lead, whether it be, unless it's a full metal jacket, then those are typically brass, but, if you use any kind of hollow points or any of those others, they do utilize lead.
Okay, is the owner responsible if, and it looks like he's taken precautions for this not to happen, but if a stray bullet was to leave the grounds and say, hit a tractor, would the owner would be responsible for everything that happens there? I mean.
Everything I've ever read says yes, but I'm not an attorney, so I'm gonna let Mr. Lane.
Mr. Lane, is that, you know about that? I mean, I don't expect that to happen, but,
If you're negligent, if the owner is negligent, yes.
But it
Or
has
his
to be proved,
if the owner or his invitees, I'll clarify that.
it has to be proved that the owner, not maybe the shooter, but the owners.
And I'm sure that Mr. Lee has a substantial liability policy too, so he has some lawyers on board, that would help if that incident occurred, but yes. You call something go off of your property, Bill, that hurt somebody, if something comes off of your property, hurts your neighbor over there, then of course you're the owner of the property that caused the negligence, so you're gonna be responsible.
all right, I figured that. I just wanted to clarify that.
Look,
That
look at
it's not it's on the gun owner, it's on the property owner, not the gun owner.
And I have a
Well, it
question.
might be on both of them.
Okay?
In their, whatever they wrote up at the back, it said that, we do plan on putting a small building in front of the range for members to be able to purchase snack items and sign up for membership. Now, is that included in this also, or is that something they have?
Yes, ma'am. So anything that's included within this application is included in the agreement.
What about the noise? Think the berm's gonna handle some of that?
Yes, sir, with any kind of wall or berm, it will help with the noise. It's not gonna mitigate the noise completely. I don't know that there's any real way unless you require suppressor only. Even with that, you're still gonna have some noise, but,
I just don't want the residents of that area to wake up thinking World War III started.
correct, yeah.
It sounds to me like they got some rifles there that could be quite noisy.
Yeah, if you get, I mean, even a small rifle like a 5.56 creates a lot of noise because of the speed of it, the trajectory goes. So it's not necessarily the size of the bullet or the caliber. When you hear that crack noise, that loud pop, that because of the speed of the bullet, not necessarily, yeah. So the velocity, and speed is what indicates. They do have rifles that have subsonic rounds with suppressors and you can't even hear them. But they have rifles that, travel 3,600 feet per second, kind of like a cannon when they go off. It just depends on which direction you are. If you're behind it, you may not hear it. If you're in front of it, you're gonna hear it.
All right, we're gonna ask for comments from the residents if we don't have any more. Do we have any more?
The site plan is, if this was to get approved, the site plan would have to come before us, correct?
No, it's already built.
All right, Bill.
But
Yeah,
we
this-
don't know where the buildings, they're proposing buildings and stuff, and we don't know where those are gonna be located. That's the question I had for you. That's why I was asking you.
Through this process, would they need to go
You
through
know,
site
cause it's
plan?
talking about they're gonna be putting a building, a small building in front of the range, cause then I didn't see where the building was gonna be placed or anything like that in here. And you said that was part of it that was included if it's in here, so.
Yeah, I think that was, they were, I guess I was referring to it as, they have, this little house thing, but I thought, let's see here.
I'm wondering if the building is gonna be just a
It says-
lean-to or if it's gonna be like a clubhouse.
It says when we are ready to start that building, it will go to the left side of the property in front of the 100-yard range shooting platform with the front of the building facing County Road 337.
Yeah, I mean, it's, being that it's not given on here specifically, the board could say, request that before they build that they would have to get site plan approval for that.
They'd have to do what? I'm having a hard
They'd
time.
have to have a,
Get site plan approval before they could
Okay,
start
yeah,
that building.
I was having a hard time hearing you.
is that what would be required anyway?
They're putting in bathrooms also.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's
Yeah.
why I was wondering, so that part's not including, that would have to have a site plan. That's what I was kind of confused about because
Yes,
I
ma'am.
thought you would. Okay.
All right, any other questions? We're gonna invite the public to come up and
I think
speak.
the applicant comes next, right, Mr. Lee?
That's correct.
Okay,
Thank
the applicant. We'll invite him up first to speak and then.
Hi, how are you?
All right,
My name's Lee Mason. Our plan was to build a range that we could basically, have an affordable and safety place, for people in the county to be able to access it. We don't have a range that's local in the area. People have to drive a pretty good distance to get to a range. There's a lot of people in the area that do cite their firearms, use firearms. There's a lot of people in the area that hunt and do recreational sports. So that was the plan, was to build a facility that we would be able to accommodate those people that practice those things in a safe environment. My background is I'm former military. I spent a lot of time in the military, so I spent a lot of time instructing and also being a part of instructing classes in the military. I also own a gun store in Newberry. I've been in that business for about 10 years. So all of my history basically was to build a place that would be secure and basically safe for anyone that would be able to come out there and use it. There will be instructors. There will be people that are there monitoring people shooting. There will also be people there to assist people in shooting. So it will be constantly monitored at all times. So, and it's based on membership and based on appointment only. So it's not a free-for-all gun range, kind of like an open range like you would see at Lake City or some of these places that are in the state forest, where people just go out there on their own accord and basically shoot. So, that was what we had intended when we built the range. So
What are the hours of operation you're proposing?
So
'Cause I'm-
they are Tuesday through Saturday. They're not Sunday and Monday.
Okay,
They're Tuesday through Saturday, and they are from 10 to 5:30. So those are the hours in which people will be utilizing the range as far as shooting.
and the maximum, I've heard 15 number of people at a time. What's the maximum number of people at a time?
So yes, ma'am, there's 5 shooters on each range if it was at full capacity. So
Okay.
that would be.
No
at-
more than 15 people. at a
Right,
time.
right. But we could have more people on one range, because we have a 300-yard space that in the center of the property that is a lot larger than the two, jettison ranges, which is the 100-yard range and the 700-yard range. You could fit up to 15 people in that center, section of the 300-yard range.
Thank you for your service.
Yep,
Yes.
thank you.
You said there'd be no shooting on Sunday?
Not Sunday or Monday, sir. Yes, sir.
And what were the hours Tuesday through Saturday?
So they're
10 to 5.
5:30.
10 to 5:30.
Yeah, that's why I was confused, because that's what it said, but then in the thing, it said something different.
Yeah.
Well, and here it says 10 to 5. But you're asking,
5:30.
10 to 5:30,
Okay, so 10 to 5 would be fine. That would be fine.
10 to 5.
Mr. Mason, I noticed in the DEP Best Management Practice Guide, they talk about lead, recovering lead or cleaning
Yes.
up lead. And so can you talk a little bit about how that's handled and how often that would be handled or?
So they have equipment that does sifting. They have sifting equipment that actually does that. I'd have to refer you to like EPA or people that deal with, sifting out lead, things like that. A majority of the time at gun ranges, as far as target shooting, most of the time people use full metal jacket and the use of a range. So a majority of that would be a covered lead jacket where there wouldn't be lead exposed to dirt. But there would be occasional times where you would have people that would use hollow point. And so that would be where there wouldn't be exactly a jacket over the entire casing of the round. So there could be potential that you could have lead in the ground. The sifting that would occur would probably occur because you would have to build up a capacity of a certain amount of lead quality, inside the dirt. You could look at a 10-year span to have enough in there for it to actually affect soil. But that would again have to be a soil sample that would be done by the EPA in order for them to assert that this is at a level we need to be able to withdraw that dirt and bring it out. So, yes,
Thank
sir.
Any others?
I like to
No.
in the public.
All right. We're gonna allow the public to speak real quick.
Thank you for your time.
Thank
All right,
you.
thank you. Anyone else from the public wish to come and address us?
Commissioner, Chairman, thank you, didn't allow me to speak. Mark Wright, I'm southeast of this property. As far as the gun range is concerned, I don't have a problem with it being private. I understand, he's from the military, so I appreciate the service. But as far as being a business, I don't support that at all.
Okay.
Mark, can you, tell us a little more? I mean, can you elaborate on why you wouldn't support?
Well, I mean, you're gonna have, saying 15 people out there, you're gonna have a constant noise. Plus, we farm the property, it's been on our family over 50 years, the Langston farm there. We ride horses on the SAP property, which is in back, which is gonna be directly behind where that is. So, yeah, I mean, I have a concern. I mean, I know there's a lot of safety, but still accidents can happen.
Right.
So, and, it only takes one.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
All right, thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.
I'm here to oppose the gun range.
Can you give us your name, just so
I'm
we
sorry,
have it on?
Bruce Sessler, resident of the Lakes.
What's your last name? I'm sorry. What's your name?
Bruce Sessler,
Okay.
Sessler. I'm a resident of the Lakes, which is right off of 337. I'm here to object
for the gun range due to the safety reasons of the range being so close to 337. There is no buffer for any accidental where the gun does not go off. And what you normally do is you whirl back around, and what happens is it can go off, and there are people and so forth driving by the highway that could be struck. Also, my concern is also for the ranchers and the farmers in that area that have livestock. For the fact is, one day, a gun might be going off, and that bull decided, that's it, I'm out of here, goes through the fence. Have you ever seen what a car does to, a bull does to a car when it hits? It's not pretty. It's another safety and liability issue. And then the rancher slash farmer is then liable for the person being killed or hurt. Also for the fact that I object is the way it was constructed, on the weekends and in the evenings. Sunday morning, I went to work at the funeral home and nothing. And then Sunday afternoon, there was a sign up that says, call me, range is open. And then he posted a sign also on the side of his building that says gun range open, before any of this ever came to be. So what happens is they've gone ahead and circled the rules and regulations of what you do business-wise to go ahead and have a gun range. But I'm more concerned about the safety of the people of Gilchrist County going up and down 337. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lee, thank you for your time. Lynette Langford. We live real close to here. My concern is the safety. I have grandchildren that will be on both sides out practicing softball, volleyball, these kind of things. My son, husband, brother-in-law, all farm, ride a lot of side-by-sides, checking crops and things out there until it's just the control of it. You know, I don't have any problem with the guns at all. You know, my family's avid hunters and that kind of thing. But the safety concern really does worry me.
What about the noise? You work out in the yard a lot, don't you?
No, I don't. I'm always at the store. But, you know, even the noise is, yeah, it's not gonna be fun, but I do know that we have a Vietnam veteran that lives across the road, that even when my son farmed his land and would have permits to shoot deer and all, he wouldn't let him because those gunshots just bothered him so bad. So, you know, and then, yeah, do we have a Jack Russell that will go into an anxiety attack and have a seizure? Yes, but he'll get used to it.
All right, thank you, Lynette, appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Well, I apologize for my extreme truck. My name is James Sewell. I'm a resident in the area, been there for 50-some years. And, my property is adjacent to that property. And I have a concern as far as, safety issues on the house and that's, on the range, and that's my main reason being here. I see that, can you bring the site plan up, please?
I think you want the one where you can see the
Yeah.
partials, the property around
I
it?
want to see the site plan.
Go to page 49. Good. Might shrink that down a little and get it all on, there you go. Well. Go down to the 337 down at the bottom.
Hold on, listen here, what is this I'm going to say?
Yeah, I think that, Mr. Sewell, I think that's the east side up at the top. and the west side's down at the bottom.
Where's the, thing that showed the burns and the drawing?
Oh, you wanna see the,
The
okay,
hand, the hand deal, yes,
go back to 37 through 41.
Go back.
Right there.
Right there.
No, not that, the drawing. That was done by hand.
Right there?
Yeah, that, okay.
Right here.
Who drove this? Is it required by to have a seal on it or survey or what, or did the individual draw it or what? Can I get an answer?
I have no idea if that's official or not. The other ones we showed you were the more official, land laid out where you may not have known what it was, but it was showing the berms. The first couple pictures we showed were the more official. I'm not sure if this is to scale or anything else. I'm not sure about this one right here.
Okay. I'm kind of confused there. Let's see. In our land development regulations, if you dig on your property, a hole, a fence hole or something like that, you can do it. But if you go starting to dig, actually dig and move it earth from one point to the other point, if I ain't mistaken, I can't find it on my ice cream thing because I'm scared to turn it on. But I think the LDRs or the comprehensive plan or whatever it says that you cannot do any digging until first obtaining a permit. Am I correct on that? You haven't read about regulations, man?
I don't think that's correct, Mr. Sewell.
I've read that.
I was fixing to say, I've had to push dirt and clearing land before, and I've never had to get a permit to do that. Is there, you were shaking your head?
Yeah, I'm looking at the LDR policy 1.14. And, I was confused about the middle. What, did he prior dig before getting a permit?
Yeah, he built the range before he got a permit. He's
He
asking
built
for,
a range before he
he
got a
hadn't even
permit.
got the permit yet. That's what we
And nobody knew what he was doing at the time.
had a pretty good idea.
Well, why wouldn't he stop? Why, how was he stopped? Was he stopped or not? Or-
We sent a code violation. We sent him a code violation.
He got a notice of code enforcement violation.
So then what, he was told that he had to do this, so he just did it, kept up and did it on his own, is what I'm saying,
That's our understanding, yes.
yeah. So he put the cart before the horse.
Appears that way.
I've had a little experience in, land development regulations. Some on, about 15, 20 years. I was with the, planning and zoning board in a municipality where we started in 1992. Give a little history, y'all know about that. The cities and the counties and municipalities had to come up with a comprehensive plan of land development regulations and a zoning map. And I said at every one of those meetings, every one of them. And, I understand zoning, and I understand this is an A1, which is one house for 5 acres. And I understand you can have a racetrack on it. You can have, there's several things that you can have on it. And I'm gonna throw something way out here in the left field. I have 40 acres there that's in the back, and say I wanna put a racetrack on there. Well, I can put a racetrack. Whether it's NASCAR, go-kart, anything else. I think that's kind of ridiculous. I think what we need to do is sit back and take a long, hard look of what we are proposing, what we are granting, because really and truly, you can deny this. He can deny, and he can pull the application, and not be subject to a penalty, what they call, try to help me out, okay? If you pose it with a
Continuance.
continuous or y'all can pull it and deny it and give him 1 year to come back and do it properly. First of all, this is, to me, that's a poor site plan. If I was on the planning and zoning board, they came before me, or especially, if I was running the planning and zoning department that I had run in the past, I wouldn't accept that site plan. Number one, it's not certified.
Well, I think
Number
the
two-
other one, the other one he had up there was, see, the one you looked at was easier for us to
Put
understand.
the other
but
one
there
up,
was
put the other one up. please.
the one that was on 37, the first one you put up.
Yeah, I want to know what was the drawing up by hand, but that's what I'm confused
Well,
about.
you're talking about the official site plan, I believe, though, is that one right there. I think that's more,
Who drew that?
I have no idea who drew that, but
Was it done by an architect or was it done by
that I don't
an
know.
engineer?
That I don't know.
Well, I would think something as important as this, that you would have an approved site plan engineered, tell me exactly how high those roads were. Where's the buffer? As far as the buffer, if you had pine trees around it, maybe 50 feet or 100 feet or 200 feet of pine trees all the way around it, that would be approvable buffer. To me, I mean, I would question all of that, where's the buffer?
Right.
What type of lighting? And another thing, if you're taking 5 people, am I over time here?
Yeah, you're over time. That's why I was fixing to say, you need to make your,
Let
you
him
need
finish
to
up.
make your, you
Well,
got.
I haven't got enough time to do what I wanted to do.
Because I know what you wanna say, and we agree with you, on some of
Well-
what you're saying, but yeah, we'll need to finish up here pretty quick.
Well, you can deny that. I mean, this is not a have to. I know better than that, because you can deny it. You can deny it without, with certain things that you have to do. You can deny it and give him 1 year to come back. And I think that's what we ought to do. We ought to get a handle on our LDRs and put a temporary moratorium on things like that until we get this thing straightened out. Because I don't know, I got a question to ask you, Boris, about how long has it been since we updated our LDRs and everything else? So I'm against this. Take the reasons first. That's it. Because you got so many people, 5 people at a time, who's gonna be running back and forth in their change of target time? You're gonna have a warning system.
We could go through that stuff all day long. Understand. Thank you very much, though. Any others? We do wanna hear from everybody. Come on up.
Hello there, Jonathan Whiteacre, resident, Gilchrist County. My grandfather lives in 5-acre tract plots next to each other. His neighbor on this side, neighbor on that side, they shoot up to 308 rounds on their private property. My grandpa's had a digger out there and push dirt around. I was amazed looking at that. I mean, we can argue all day about whether you should have done it without having the zoning first, but it's private land. If it was gonna be private, now we're here to, they're here to fix it up for the future. I was amazed at how beautiful it is. I've been to, tier 1 gun ranges that I've gone out to Tallahassee for that haven't lined it all the way and gone through that care. It's not even what I came here for the meeting for, but man, if people are gonna shoot guns, they're gonna shoot guns. And that facility looks awesome. I don't need to have a membership anywhere, but I'm like, man, I would like to go there. I've got a 2.5 acre plot right next to my house where they're blasting away at. It's just part of rural life. I understand that the frequency of shots from a gun range would be much higher, but, I would believe based on, I've done competitions out there as well, where you're the next one over from where they're blasting away and you're right there, not 100 yards, not 200 yards, very muffled if it's done right. And where that would be, less of a nuisance than some of the birds out here, depending on how close you are. And like I said, that's coming from someone that's neighbors on a 2.5 acre plot, shoot 308 caliber while my kids are napping. Ain't nothing I can do about it. It's their right to do so. If anything, for me, and again, this is with a grain of salt, I'm not right next to the property. having something like this close here might be safer and better. Because those who have that 50 yards, they're gonna want the 100 yards to sight in, depending on the affordability and access that it is. I don't, and it's not my place to sit here and say it, I don't see the safety concerns with where 337 is, but, with the effort that's been put through here today, of trying to get it right, I would say that shows that whatever, hopefully the man doing it, shows that, he does want to make it safe, and I saw that. My grandpa shoots out to 1,200 yards. So like I said, I've been around that. I've been on a lot of them, been to some competitions. And that one looks nice, and concern has been taken to safety. And like I said, my neighbors are blasting left, right, and center. I'm not here to complain about that. That's their right, but I'm sitting there saying, wow, something like that in our county could actually make a lot of people safer because there is more oversight on it.
How far do you live from this proposed site? How many miles?
15.
15 miles?
I'm in Tommy's neck of the woods.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Let me point one thing out to the board, just while we're on this topic too. I just want to remind the board that the board is not allowed under Florida law to try to preempt any kind of firearm regulation. What the Florida statutes allows us to do is regulate the zoning and the development of the site in accordance with our comprehensive plan and our land development code. So just want you to bear that in mind, and that's not what we're trying.
It meets that, right?
And that's not what we're trying to do. We're not
Right.
trying to regulate whether or not you can use firearms or not. We're
Right.
trying to get the plan that's compatible in accordance with the, land development code.
All right. Come on up, sir.
Hey, good evening. Tristan Hyde, here to support Mr. Lee Mason and the gun range. I've been in the military, shot a lot of guns. I have a lot of friends that have been in the military, they're local. I have a lot of friends who are civilians, they all shoot guns, and we've been looking for a spot like this for a really long time. The closest place that is like this gun range is an hour away, and it's very packed, and we refuse to go there because of this. So we plank on our own property, and I'm sure there's a lot more people like me in the surrounding counties and this county planking on their own property, and their neighbors do not appreciate that. And so if we had a safe, allocated place where people could go and exercise their Second Amendment hobbies, that would be very good for the county. It would cause a lot less friction around the surrounding counties, and we could have a centralized location for safe firearm activities. And I've seen this range, I've seen a lot of ranges. It's very safe, very well built. I don't think you need an engineer to put piles of dirt on a piece of paper, but I've seen Talon Range, Tallahassee. It's right on the side of the interstate, and it's completely safe. Nobody shoots the interstate, and I think this range should be passed. There's an election coming up. A lot more gun owners are going to come out, and a lot more people are going to buy guns, and they need a safe place to learn to shoot their firearms. Louisiana, there's a homestead with a gun range on it. It was very successful and very popular. I brought a bunch of people there to learn how to use firearms safely, and I think it's a very good idea for this county. Thank you.
All right.
How far do you live from this, site?
I live 12 miles away
Thank you.
from the gun range.
What does Fort White Gun Club over there, what do they offer? They have a shooting facility?
They do. However, it only goes out to 200 yards, I believe. I'm one of those guys that
I've
goes
never
out to
been
the
in there, so-
750-yard range. I have a lot of toys I like to use, and I really like Mr. Lee Mason's mission statement, and he's a fellow veteran, and I really want to support his business. And Fort White's a bit more of a trip for me. I have a friend who's between me and Fort White gun range. I'd rather go to his place. But Mr. Lee, he's closer and a lot more, better range.
All right, thank you for your service.
Thank you for your
And
service,
thank you
sir.
for your comments. Anyone else? All right, I'll just start off and then everybody can give their comments. I've seen it. It looks very, very safe. It looks very, very well built. Do I think it will, be beneficial for the for the county? Yes. Do I feel for those that live near it? Yeah. More than safety, I think I'm worried about noise because, 15-foot bullet, I mean, a 15-foot wall, by the time a bullet goes over a 15-foot wall, it's not, it's gone. I mean, it's gonna come down somewhere, but I don't think it's gonna come down. I don't see many bullets going over a 15-foot wall. I think it's been built, very well. If I grant he may have put the cart before the horse, but it's already been done. So, my dilemma comes with I'm a gun owner, love to shoot guns, and I'm also a proponent of an opponent of, if you own a piece of property and you're doing everything right, then you ought to be able to do on your piece of property what you want to do. But I do feel for the residents that live right next door to it, as far as, I can understand I mean, I have a fellow who shoots a gun right beside me, and he shoots large caliber guns. He's got rubber tires and dirt berm that he shoots into. And, but he'll start shooting at 7 in the morning. So I thought at least he's not gonna shoot till 10. That means he's not gonna wake you up on Saturday morning bright and early. So I'm at a dilemma here of what to do to satisfy the residents that live near it, but also be able to have this man put his gun range in. So we'll let someone else speak and see if they can shed more light on it.
I'll speak next. You know, my question is it compatible with the neighborhood? You know, we have residents on each side and across. We have, you know, the safety concern. We have the noise factor that people are concerned about. We have livestock. You know, there's just several things here that I'm questioning, you know, is it compatible, with that neighborhood? Because, I mean, I shoot my guns. I have neighbors that shoot guns, but it's not an everyday thing. You know, when my neighbors start shooting, you know, there's 2 neighbors that shoot. When one of them shoot, I make sure I'm not outside because you never know, stray bullet might hit. But when I'm shooting, you know, I shoot at a berm, but I also make sure there's no cars coming. I also make sure there's no cows out in the background, because you never know when that bullet could stray from that berm. And then of course, you know, we have dogs, so we have to put our dogs up. You know, if I shoot or if the neighbors shoot, that's something I have to do every time I'm shooting or the neighbor's shooting. My dog goes crazy. I know we have dogs in the pen. I don't know, you know, I know they don't like it, but I know I have a yard dog that I do have to, you know, put inside every time we shoot or the neighbors shoot. And I'm for shooting. Like I said, I own guns. My family owns guns. We're hunters. But I'm just having a problem with this now becoming a commercial where people will be able to be there every day and to be able to shoot whenever we have, you know, surround it with a neighborhood. That's all I have to say.
Mr. Smith, any comment?
Yeah, I have some comments. Generally, I think all of us support gun rights, being able to shoot your gun. I shoot my gun on our property. We have neighbors that shoot guns, and they may shoot an hour or two and, you know, it's over with. And I want to compliment Mr. Mason for, it seems like what you put together and being willing to follow the BMP manual, all that's great. The concern I've got is the local folks out there, and they've been there a long time farming, and the general compatibility. You know, as a board, we're to consider the uses, general compatibility and harmony with the uses and structures on the adjacent and nearby properties. And I know there's lots to that, Mr. Lang, and how all that legally is defined, but I have some concerns about that part of it, particularly for livestock, for those that are farming out there, for the people around there. And so that's my thoughts.
Some of my concerns are the same. I'm going to top it, although I got a guy next door shoots a cannon. And if you don't think that'll scare you, be outside when it goes off. But anyway, I have some of the same concerns. First of all, I'm not happy with the idea of building it and then coming and getting a permit. I mean, I can't build a house and say, well, I've got my house built, I think I'll go get a permit. Or any other type of structure, really. I do have a problem with building that and then deciding that you want to go public and get your permit and stuff like that. My other concern is the site plan. We didn't approve the site plan. I mean, we're being asked to approve it tonight, but I never seen the site plan until tonight. It appears on the screen and I'm supposed to approve it. I don't even know if the proper procedures was followed. I don't know if it meets the rules and regulations. I don't know if it meets state qualifications. I mean, there's just so many unknowns about building the facility and then asking for a first special use permit. And also here, under the summary, it says a comprehensive plan states that a special use permit should promote public health, safety, morals, order, comfort, convenience, appearance, prosperity, and promote the general welfare. And as it's already been expressed, I have a problem with constant noise like that. I wouldn't want to live by it. I mean, I really wouldn't. I know there's some safety concerns and I know he's addressed that pretty well. But if you're outside working in the garden or you're outside doing something, or you got horses or you got dogs, and this is going on 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, that's a lot of noise, that's a lot of shooting, and I would feel for the neighbors very much. I know I wouldn't want it. And I know we got guidelines to go by, and I know we got regulations to go by, but at the same time, as Commissioner Smith stated, is it, you know, promoting stuff throughout the community, harmony throughout the community.
We can deny the special use permit, right, but he can still utilize that gun range he's built. Am I correct?
For private usage, yeah, absolutely.
Private use mean him only, or he can invite his friend, neighbor, as long as he don't charge,
I think that's probably correct.
so that he could have a crowd of people there.
We can't regulate private usage. That falls under the preemption to the state of Florida that was observed by the legislature, okay? And there is no prohibition about you shooting guns on your own private property, so long as you're on a certain size parcel.
And contain the direction of
And
the bullet.
contain the bullets on your property. That's
And
exactly right.
He's got everything built, right?
That's also correct.
Well, my question is, if we deny the special use permit, he can go on and invite his neighbors every weekend, Sunday, shoot anytime he wants. Am I correct? And nobody can say a word about it.
That sounds like a law school question, but I think you're probably correct about that. That you can invite your guests over to shoot on your property, as long as you're not running it as a business.
Well, that's what
As long as you're not charging people or it's not like, you're paying a fee.
So what Kendrick is saying, you may deny something that's gonna occur anyway, and you won't have any regulation or control over it. I believe that's what I'm saying.
Well-
You know, here he is saying he ain't gonna shoot on Sunday or Sunday or Monday. But if we deny him, he can shoot
shoot
7
any day he
days a
wants to.
week, he can shoot at night, he can do anything he wants, so. I don't know what the citizens around him want. Seems like you.
Do they want regulation? Do they want it regulated or do they want it unregulated? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying, do you want to let him do as he please, or do you want regulations? Do what? You come up.
You have to come up to the mic to do it.
And I am a gun owner. I shoot guns, I hunt, I do it all, so I'm not against anybody firing their gun or nothing like that.
Jim, so, for the record, I'm a Second Amendment approver. I shoot my guns, I have guns also. I have horses that I train, and with the sound that y'all talked about, my horses go crazy every time these guns goes off. In fact, I had to even pin them up different inside. Do I want, they're unregulated? No, I want it regulated by saying what you can do here. You can approve him for having his own shooting, not a business. But you can regulate him selling any kind of ammo out of there, or cars excess in there, because where's you gonna have the parking for it? You know, I mean, he's got 53 acres, he's using 11 acres, so you got the room to pack put cars out there. I don't wanna see a business run out of that place, personally. You could regulate it with code enforcement, I feel, that you have the right to do that. I never met the gentleman, he bought the property, I'm a landowner, I hate for people to tell me what to do also. You know, and I've heard people, and I've had to speak against things, and I don't like it, but you got to deal with what people, the landowners, existing landowners been there. The Lakers have been there, what, 100 years? Better. I mean, this is the kind of property that we're dealing with, and I hate to see it for the noise, the safety. You can have accidents. I don't care how good you are. You have it on military bases, you have it in civilian bases, you have it in the police force, you have it at your own personal house. Accident can and will happen. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Come on up. If you'd like to speak one more time, I'll let you.
And then
Then we're gonna have to.
do we let the applicants speak, after this, Mr. Lang?
You should,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay, question. By us allowing this to happen, the Board of Commissioners are setting a precedent as far as allowing things to happen that aren't regulated. And so tonight is going to start a whole chain of events by saying, oh, I didn't know it. I had to have my house redone. Okay, I had to have a permit to do the siding. I had to have a permit to do the roof. Okay, even though there were two different contractors, I still had to get both permits at the same time, even though they told one was going to do one at one time, the other, following the rules I did by the county. As far as by allowing the gun range, we have just set precedent that anybody can go ahead, change the land value from agriculture to commercial, and have no consequence whatsoever, and then sugarcoat. So tonight is going to be a big night for the county commission and for the future of Gilchrist County as far as what we want to grow, how we want to grow it, and the rules that we need to follow that's set forth by the board. Thank you.
Applicant.
Yeah, can I ask, Mr. Lang, can I ask real quick, kind of follow up on, Commissioner Thomas's question about, so if the board denies the commercial use, he can then use it as a private use. How do you define the two, other than you charge for one and you don't for the other, or?
How do you define? You know what I'm saying? If I own that property and I want to invite my friends out there to shoot, we can't regulate that. But because he's a member club and has applied for an SUP permit, you do have some authority to regulate. But no place in the county, if you own a private piece of property, can this board tell you cannot shoot your firearm unless you're on one of those very narrowly defined size requirements of the lot, I think. And I'm speaking out of school, but last time, I think it's an acre or less you're not supposed to shoot on or something to that effect. And you must contain any of that ammunition on your own property. It can't leave the property.
Right. But as a private range, he could have 200 people a day or more than what he's proposing now.
The only regulation on that would be that if it became a private nuisance to the adjoining landowners, they could bring a separate cause of action based on a nuisance complaint, but they'd have to obtain their own attorney, they'd have to go to court, and they'd have to have the judge decide that that constituted a private nuisance.
But at no time can he be charging people. This can't be a business where people come in and do, you know, like a business where you pay to shoot or have a membership.
Not if you're not gonna approve this SUP.
Right, that's right. Okay, the applicant. The
Yeah.
applicant has anything
Yeah.
to say?
But if you work at night though, and you're trying to sleep in the daytime, I don't know how you can
I don't
sleep
either.
with all this going on. I just don't know how you can do it. I
Come
don't think
on
it's
up
in the
and-
neighborhood.
How you doing?
Good.
All right.
Lucas, maybe I can add a little different perspective from being firsthand around the place that was more or less private warfare going on around me, that forced me to move. I don't necessarily see a safety issue. I somewhat see a noise issue.
Did you give your name for the record?
Yeah, Tom Lucas.
Did you tell them what business you're in?
Oh, we raise parrots.
Yeah,
But,
raised
you know,
bird, yeah.
He's been here before on an issue
Yes.
with fire.
Yeah.
I know when we went
So-
through the whole issue with that.
I don't think there's a big thing you can do about, you know, stopping private warfare going on, and I don't necessarily think that there should be something you can do. Private nuisance, didn't work, but, you know. I think this place is probably safe, you know, the noises, maybe you guys could find a common ground, you know, where it doesn't happen 5 days a week. I think their hours are great, you
Yeah.
know, I don't see a problem with that. Everybody try and find a common ground, and maybe you guys can work it. I think it's probably a benefit to the community to have something like this, you know, I don't see a problem with it.
Okay.
That's it.
All right, thank you very much.
And how far do you live from this place? Okay.
All right, we're gonna let the applicant come back up one more time and address the concerns that were mentioned today, and
So I built this place to be regulated. I would like to be regulated because I want to take in concern of everyone that would be able to use this range. So I'm hoping that's the way you're viewing it. I want your opinion. I want your concerns. I want you to better implement what I can do from here on out. So if those concerns are that we need to change hours, or we need to implement more safety rules, or we need to implement more safety procedures, whether it's barriers, distances, those kinds of things, I encourage that. I want that. That's part of being me standing here before you. Yes, there are some things that I did not know that I needed to do before I needed to do it. Yes, there are. I didn't know that there was, well, I don't think there is. I can ask him, is there any concern with moving dirt on your property?
Depends on what you're moving it for. Yeah, as Mr. Sewell said, if you're moving it for the purpose of development, then that's defined under the Florida statutes on what development is. If I'm shoving it from here to there to cover up holes on my property, that's not development.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right, yes, sir. So.
Yours is appears to me to be far above moving it from one place to the other to cover up.
So I did try to speak with the building department and speak with the zoning department in the process of developing this. At the time, there was no clear, procedure on what to do from start to finish. I also contacted the Florida Wildlife Commission and also asked them about the ranges they had built within the state. They could not give me a clear set of guidelines as to berm height, berm distances, usage of the range, how many people would be on the range. There were no regulations that were on a black and white form to say this is the procedures in which you go to build a range like this. So the only basis I had was based on the experiences of the ranges I've used and I've instructed at, and I've been doing most of my life. In doing that, I also made it more than what I had actually seen, trying to accommodate the things that I thought were not suitable at the ranges I had visited. I personally would never go and shoot at one of the state ranges. I personally don't feel safe there. I don't feel comfortable there. There are people walking from a parking lot that's less than 10 feet from them right onto a firing range. Those people are putting firearms right back into their cases. I don't know if those firearms are loaded. I don't know if those firearms are properly unloaded. There's people at those ranges cleaning their firearms while other people are shooting right next to them. That's not something you would do on a range. You would not want to disassemble a firearm in the midst of someone else using a firearm. So those kinds of things I tried to take from and then improve upon when it came to facilitating a range for the county that would be more suitable for it to grow based on how people would add their opinion to what would be added to the range as we went forward in this process. So, I took some surveys at my, business, about 1,500 different surveys at the time from customers that I had in the area, which is within a 50-mile radius of us. And most of them said they would utilize a gun range if it was closer to them, if they did not have to drive so far away. And a lot of them are, as you've heard, are using their own private property, and they're even more closer adjacent to the neighbors than even I am. So their houses may be 40 feet away. They may have a fence line that's 5 feet away. So this is 435 feet away from a home. Some of it even acres from a home. So there's a lot of distance between me and my adjacent neighbors, when it comes to usage on the home. And then I want to reiterate, there are people there all the time. So there are going to be range officers. This is not like a normal range where you go up and you're going to shoot based upon just your free will. This is basically, you are going to be monitored while you are in the presence of shooting. So there will be people there that are prior law enforcement, prior military, people that are trained in understanding that. And we will also be able to implement people if there was an accident to happen, where they would be able to get emergency service.
How many people at one time? You said 15 at one time?
15 across the entire range. Yes,
So
ma'am.
no more than 15 people at one time?
Yes, ma'am.
So there could be 15 people shooting
Yes, ma'am.
at one time?
Yes,
I just know what it sounds like with one person shooting. I couldn't imagine what it would be like, you know, with 15 people shooting. I mean, I just hear one man shooting. I couldn't
so
imagine.
that would be at the range of being at full capacity, which we had planned on when the range was at full capacity, that we would put signage out to let people know the day of that occurrence happening. But regularly you would not have 15 people out there at one time shooting. You may have one shooter come in and shoot for a couple hours and then leave. You may have 2 or 3 shooters come in for 4 hours and then leave. Most of the time you won't have 15 people on the range at any given time.
Be kind of rare.
Shooting all of
It'd
them.
be kind of rare.
It would be rare. It'd be a rare, yeah.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Do we get any complaints from the sheriff's firing range at all the different activities that they hold out there?
I've never heard any of it.
From turkey shoots to.
I think people know that
FHP
the,
But I mean, I'm curious if we're getting a number of complaints from that range, and that would be a benchmark that you've kind of just.
I haven't
think-
had anybody call me. I don't know if
Yeah, I mean,
any complaints.
that's
been
not
filed
open
with
to
the
the
county
public
that you
either,
know of?
though. That's not open to the public. unless-
Well,
They have all kind of shooting
it is
events out.
occasionally. 'Cause
Well, they have the FFA turkey shoot.
Yeah.
They've had that for 3 years and it lasts about 2 hours once a year.
And they have the firearm where you get your concealed weapons thing out there.
The only complaint that I've had was FHP. And it's because they went out there for 2 or 3 days in a row and started shooting at like 6 o'clock in the morning. And that wasn't about the shooting, so they rearranged their time, and now they don't start till like 9 o'clock in the morning, so there's been no more complaints since then.
I can hear them every time they shoot at that.
Yeah.
And Swanee Lake, here's Swanee Lake.
Would you be willing to get with your neighbors and see what y'all can work out to agree it? Cause I hate to see you lose this. I think you got a good plan. I think you got a good range. And if you could get with your neighbors there around there, the people concerned, and y'all could work out some tires to shoot, stuff like that.
Or maybe some kind of, tree line for noise or for safety again, take it away from, I understand, I have cattle, and if all of a sudden, I think they would get used to the noise, but first time a bunch of guns went off, they might do exactly what he says. They might charge that fence and be all over the road. Eventually they'd get used to it, but, that's my concern is there a way we could work with the neighbors to get this? Cause I'd like you to have your range too. I really would, but then I understand, These
Yes.
families have lived out there 100 years and they're concerned about a bunch of guns going off around them.
They have some legit concerns that,
Well,
you know,
I mean,
Uh,
you know, I agree.
Or-
I think he's done a great job in, litigating the problems as far as stray bullets with a 15-foot wall. By the time a bullet goes over a 15-foot wall, you're way off target. There's some concerns about 138 or the road right in front of it. It's not 138, but 337.
the noise.
And then the noise, and that's why I was wondering if they could come up with some noise buffers and some things that may
Well,
satisfy both parties.
do you wanna see if anybody else has to speak? before-
Yeah,
My thing is, he don't have his gun range, whether we just not,
he's still got a gun range he can use. You're right. I mean, the gun range is there and he can shoot in it anytime he wants to.
With the way this is
Invite his
proposed,
friends to come shoot with him.
the way this is proposed tonight, can I go ahead and make that motion right now, Mr. Lane?
Yeah.
Can I make a motion right now?
Sure. Yes,
The
ma'am.
way this is proposed tonight, I'm gonna, make a motion to vote no on the on the, SUP 2024-05.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
I'd rather see it tabled till he can get with his neighbors and come back with some kind of resolution to the problem instead of denying.
Are you willing to work with your neighbors and
Yes.
try to address?
Yes, I'm willing to work with all the public.
Yeah.
Yes.
My
Very
question
much.
is, are the neighbors willing to work with him?
You gotta come up to the mic to speak, cause we have to record it.
I'm on.
Yeah, just go.
Yeah, so, it's my understanding, you can deny this, or he can pull his application without prejudice, am I correct?
Brandon, you know anything about that?
And
I don't.
well, I mean, if.
Only thing he could do tonight, Mr. Sewell, would
As
be
well, I
continue it.
understood that prejudice before, he could pull it without prejudice and then come back and make a good proposal. Here's my buffers, here's this, here's that, here's this. Maybe talk to the neighbors in the meantime and, let's resort the thing over. I mean, I'm for it, but I mean, I'm not for this, but I'm for shooting guns, and I shoot guns on my own property, but I don't do it continuously, over and over and over. And I have horses, and the registered horses, and I train them now. And it does upset my horses, and I ride horses in the back. Safety is my reason. If a guy comes out, like you talked about monarchy, if he comes out of that and he starts loading his gun up before he gets there, I don't know what it is. Gun goes off, accidents happen. But I'm willing to work with it, but not under the circumstances we have here tonight.
I liked, we do have a motion and a second, and we're gonna get to that, but just my opinion, I like, Mr. Thomas's, idea of maybe laying it on the table till our next regular meeting and give him a chance to, talk with the neighbors, see if they can come up with some, agreement that will take care of some of their fear, their scares and their worries. And maybe he can come up with a proposal that would fit this gentleman's idea of where he's got his buffers and all that laid out there. So I like that idea, but we do have a motion and a second.
Alright,
So,
So
anybody else want to comment?
Well, if we, basically pass the motion, how does that work with continuation or tabling?
Can't.
Can if we
Approve,
pass a
deny,
motion.
or approve. with
We
conditions.
can approve to lay it on the table
Now-
tonight. and
Now
then
that
come
there's a
back, not
motion on
this
there, unless they
motion.
withdraw the motion, you gotta vote on the motion, then you can take up.
Right. well,
we need to
that's
vote on
what I
this
meant.
motion first.
We can, if we vote on the motion and it fails, or if they withdraw their motion, a new motion can be made to lay it on the table, and then we could come back.
We need to vote on my motion first.
Exactly. So we have a motion and a second to fail this SUP. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
No. I think it was 3-2 to fail. All right. Motion failed.
We need to take a restroom break before we start the next one.
Okay. that was the vote I heard. Sharon, Darrell, and Mr. Thomas?
Yeah.
Okay. Three to two to fail the motion.
To deny
To
the,
deny the SUP.
So,
And my justification is,
now, now you understand
yeah,
that he can, the private shooting
yeah, I
go,
understand.
go on and,
I
okay,
understand.
all right.
Do as he pleases. I can shoot in my yard.
Can't do
But the
it.
thing about it is,
But I don't-
I don't like the procedure, the way it was done. I just think it was wrong, like the one gentleman said, we sat in the precinct, go build your thing and then come see if you can get it approved. I don't like that. The other thing is, I don't think it fits the neighborhood. If it was in a different location, he done a fantastic job. I love his facility. Be good for the county, be good for the residents. I agree with everything, except I just don't think it fits the neighborhood.
Where you gonna put something like that fits the neighborhood?
About 12,000 acres over there, private property, put it right in the middle.
Yeah.
So you don't have people living on both sides and animals on both sides and all this other
And
kind of
people
stuff.
living across also, yeah.
All right.
can I
Mr. Chairman,
ask,
are we taking a break?
Yeah, we
Mr.
will.
Lang.
Just let me say, we need to hurry because we have an advertised, final budget hearing starting
I'm
at
trying
five
for you.
15 and people might be here for that.
yeah,
Okay.
We're
Mr.
gonna have to
Lang.
jump over some of this.
real
stuff.
quick, because they're still here, if they wanted to take another look at this and resubmit something, is that possible?
1 year is
I think it's 1 year.
1 year.
Okay.
But it's private till that time.
Sharon? Yeah, yes, sir. All right, do we wanna go on, or do we need to take a quick break?
65 minutes.
All right, quick break, and then we'll come back and start on these others.
Anytime
we're gonna go ahead and continue with this meeting. We do have a 5 o'clock time certain that we're, about an hour off on, so we're gonna move right to that and keep going.
Mr. Chairman, I think we need to go ahead and skip over that and come back to it. Go ahead and do your 5:15 final budget hearing stuff with Mr.
Okay.
Robinson.
If
Because
you-
that was advertised and people are not be here for that.
All right, we will go to the 5:15 time certain final budget hearing.
All right. First, item on the agenda, this is the final budget hearing for 2024-2025. We're going to start off with Resolution 2024-33. This is a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Gilchrist County, Florida, adopting the final levying of ad valorem taxes for Gilchrist County for fiscal year 2024-2025 and providing for an effective date. The gross taxable value for operating purposes not exempt from taxation within Gilchrist County has been certified by the county property appraiser to the Board of County Commissioners as $1,304,677,248. The fiscal year 2024-2025 operating millage rate is 8.7 mils, which is more than the rollback rate of 7.8466 mils by 10.876%. The fiscal year 2024-2025 aggregate operating millage rate is 9.7077 mils, which is more than the aggregate rollback rate of 8.5223 mils by 13.91%. This includes the principal authority, which is the general fund, and the dependent MSTU. Need a motion to adopt. We do need to allow for public comment, and we do have to vote on this by roll call.
All right, is there any, comment on resolution 2024-33?
Motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion to approve and a second?
Yeah.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve, resolution 2024-33. We have to do this by roll call. So Ms. Sharon?
Well, I'm just real quick, like, I'm not gonna state why I'm voting no, but if you want to know why, you can go back and listen to the September 5th meeting, or you can call me on the phone, or you can ask me after this meeting, so I vote no.
All right, Darrell?
Yes.
Smith? Yes?
Yes. Yes.
All right, let the record show 4-1, that SU 2024-33 passed.
Okay, for the record, resolution 2024-33 passes at 6:09 PM on a 4-1 vote. Next up, we have resolution 2024-34. This is a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Gilchrist County, Florida, adopting the final budget for fiscal year 2024-2025 and providing for an effective date. The Board of County Commissioners of Gilchrist County, Florida, set forth the appropriations and revenue estimate for the budget for fiscal year 2024-2025 in the amount of $64,010,029. This is the necessary budget to fund personal services, operating expenses, capital outlay, and reserves for the board. With this, the fiscal year 2024-2025 final budget would be adopted. Again, we do need to allow for public comment, and we do have to vote on this by roll call.
All right, any public comment on resolution 2024-34? The final budget.
Motion to approve. Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Thomas, a second by Commissioner Langford. We will vote by roll call. Ms. Sharon?
Once again, September 5th meeting, if you want to know why I'm voting no, or you can call me, or you can ask me after the meeting, no.
Smith?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes. Yes.
All right, let the record show that resolution 2024-34, the final budget passed, 4-1 at 6:11.
I've actually got 6:10.
6:10, okay.
Yeah, for the record, resolution 2024-34 passes on a 4-1 at 6:10. Next, I have resolution 2024-35. This is a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Gilchrist County, Florida, adopting the final levying of ad valorem taxes for municipal services taxing unit for emergency medical services for fiscal year 2024-2025 and providing for an effective date. The gross taxable value for operating purposes not exempt from taxation within Gilchrist County has been certified by the county property appraiser to the Board of County Commissioners municipal servicing taxing unit as $1,314,753,563. The fiscal year 2024-2025 operating millage rate is 1 mills, which is more than the rollback rate of 0.66 mills by 51.52%. Need a motion to adopt. Again, we do need public comment, and we need to vote by roll call.
All right. Is there any public comment on resolution 2024-35, the final millage STUM rate?
Motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion
Second.
by Commissioner Langford, a second by Commissioner Smith. We will vote by roll call. All those, Ms. Sharon?
Once again, you can go back and listen to the September 5th meeting on why I'm voting no, or you can call me, or you can ask me after the meeting, no.
All right. Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
I'm yes.
Yes. Yes.
All right, let the record show that resolution 2024-35 passed 4-1.
And for the record, resolution 2024-35 passes at 6:12 PM. And last up, we have resolution 2024-36. This is a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Gilchrist County, Florida, adopting the final budget for municipal services taxing unit for emergency medical services for fiscal year 2024-2025 and providing for an effective date. The Board of County Commissioners Municipal Services Taxing Unit of Gilchrist County, Florida, set forth the appropriations and revenue estimate for the budget for fiscal year 2024-2025 in the amount of $2,915,967. This is the necessary budget to fund personal services, operating expenses, capital outlay, and reserves for EMS. With this, the fiscal year 2024-2025 final budget would be adopted for EMS. Need a motion to approve. We do need to allow for public comment, and this does require roll call as well.
All right, is there any public comment on resolution 2024-36?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner Thomas, a second by Commissioner Langford to approve resolution 2024-36, the final budget, MSTU rate. Ms. Langford?
Once again, go back and listen to the September 5th meeting to find out why I'm voting no. So no.
All right, Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
All right, let the record show that resolution 2024-36, the final budget, passed 4-1.
And for the record, resolution 2024-36 passes at 6:14 PM on a 4-1 vote. And Mr. Chair, that concludes our final budget hearing.
Okay, thank you very much. We will, then go back up to,
We have a 5:45.
We have a 5 o'clock.
we'll go back up to our 5 o'clock one.
Ordinance number 2024-06.
Yeah, 2024-15, time certain land code development amendment.
Hey, Brandon, before you get started, I think these others I'm not sure what the time will be on them. Since we are past the, 5:45 PM,
Thinking we could-
the, time certain, Whispering Pines subdivision, which I think that's Mr. Brandon. I'm not sure if he's quite got all his documents right there with him. Could we move to it?
Mr. Roberts.
That's
got
what I was thinking
Mr.
too.
Roberts and,
Down.
Mr. Parrish here.
Problem with that at all, if we want to move to the,
and it is
5:30.
6:15, so we are not doing it before the time.
like, the 5:30 resolution.
No, 5:45. It'll be,
5:45.
SD 220, it'll be SD 2024-02, Whispering Pines subdivision.
All right. Let's do that one then.
They catch you off guard, Brendan?
No,
Okay.
I'm prepared for all of them, so.
All right.
Good evening, Chair, other members of the board. Again, Brandon Stubbs with North Florida Professional Services, here on behalf of the county. The, application before you is a subdivision application request by Ronald Parrish, who is the applicant or agent for, Gerald and Joe and, Robert. This is a minor subdivision consisting of 5 lots, called Whispering Pines. The subject property identification number is 07-09-14. dash 0000 dash 0005 dash 0000. There was some back and forth with completeness, with this application. The applicant had complied with all the requirements for completeness. One of those was payment of taxes. They got all that updated, got the certificate of title updated showing that, as well as the agent authorization form. After they had a complete application, our surveyor, James Smith, who is a licensed surveyor, reviewed their application for consistency with chapter 177 Florida statute to ensure that it complies with the statutory requirements for final subdivision. It was also reviewed, by myself for compliance with the comp plan and the land development regulations. The applicant addressed all those concerns and has submitted the final plat with all, of staff concerns addressed. So the, item before you this evening is a minor subdivision plat, that is ready to be recorded, subject to approval by this board. And if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them.
So it's a piece of property totaling how many acres divided into 5 lots? Is that what it is, or 6?
It's 5 lots, so the maximum for, minor subdivision is 5 lots. Each one of them already has existing road access. If you go to the next page.
You say each lot already has existing road access?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. That's why it's a minor. If it did not have existing street frontage, then we would not be able to do the minor process. So the requirement for a minor plat is 5 or less lots and it has to have existing public access. Now, there is also requirements within your LDRs or in development code that say it can't access certain county streets like 340 and stuff like that, but just don't access any major streets, as you can see. So it did not violate that section of code. I'm sorry, I think you had a question about the size of the lot. In this district, the minimum is 5 acres, so these are all 5 acres or more. Lot 5 is 9.21 acres. Lots 3 and 4 are 5.07 acres. And then the lot 1 and 2, at the net, or sorry, the gross acreage is 4.91, but that is allowed for under your code because there's a 10% variance for any lots that were on the road, so that they actually do meet density, even though they're under 5 acres, because the code allows for that 10%. Any questions or?
Hear from the public, maybe? What the public has to say?
Is it public? Is this public
Mhm.
participation? Is
Yep.
there anybody in the public, want to make a, comment on, SD, 2024-02, the Whispering Pine subdivision?
Or the applicant or his agent might want to say something.
Yeah.
The applicant?
The applicant want to say anything? Nope.
Okay.
All right.
Motion to approve SD 2024-02.
All
Second.
right, we got a motion by Commissioner Smith, a second by Commissioner Langford to approve, SD 2024-02, the Whispering Pine subdivision. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. All right. I just got a real quick question for Mr. Mr. Rock. Is this where y'all used to live? Is that where this is going in? Yeah, this is your farm? Okay. Okay, well, great, great. All right, well, thank you. Thanks for coming in, I appreciate it. I just wanted to make sure that's where it was. Not that it makes any difference one way or the other, I just wanted to know. All right, thank you. Thank you. All right,
Now we go back to our 5 o'clock.
now do we go back to our 5 o'clock?
Yes, we get back in line now.
All right, get back in line now. We'll go to, 2024-15. Yeah.
I have a question for you before you start. Do you see in other counties, I mean, because I know like we just approved this, but you had mentioned if it was like on certain highways, then it would have to be different. Does other counties do that also?
I have not seen that in other counties.
That's something we might want to look at.
But there, what you'll have, I understand why y'all adopted it,
Mhm.
because what you don't want to end up is a bunch of tracks accessing a county road where your speed limit is 60 miles per hour, and you got a lot of people starting to stop. So I understand from an access, from a transportation, and I'm not a transportation engineer, I do some transportation planning, but not engineering. But from a transportation standpoint, totally agree. But are there other ways to mitigate that? Yeah, there's, access point standards or development of, like, if you're on a collector road like 340, well, you can't have a driveway but over 330 feet. So what I would do is make, like, if somebody had a minor subdivision and they had like 5 lots or 6 lots, they get 3 driveways. So they would have common access drives.
Would have to connect to one or two.
Yeah, every 2 lots would have to share an access. And that's what a lot of codes do. They'll say, okay, well, we'll allow minor subdivision on existing.
You have to share, yeah, that makes
That's just
sense.
it, yeah.
Okay,
And that-
anyway, that's something we might wanna look at one
I
day.
think 138 and 340 was 2 of those roads that didn't on.
There's several of them that's listed.
Correct, and that's, part of what's in here tonight. So, if y'all want to discuss that more, we can discuss it.
That's fine.
But the, application before you, there's actually, this is the resolution, and this is for the Planning and Zoning Board, as the, Board County Commission sits. But do you want to read the title, or do you want me to read the title? You read. Okay. I'll try to make it. It's a long title. Resolution number PZLPA LDR 2024-15. A resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Gilchrist County, Florida, amending ordinance number 93-01, the Gilchrist County Land Development Code as amended, serving as the Planning and Zoning Board of Gilchrist County, Florida, and the local planning agency of Gilchrist County, Florida, relating to a text amendment to the Gilchrist County Land Development Code pursuant to an application by the Board of County Commissioners of Gilchrist County, Florida, recommending to the Board of County Commissioners of Gilchrist County, Florida, approval of an amendment to the Gilchrist County Land Development Code, amending section 2.01.05 entitled Definitions, amending section 2.05.02 entitled Uses Permitted Only Within a Special Use Permit, amending section 2.06.02 entitled Uses Permitted Only with Special Use Permit, amending section 4.03.01 entitled Traffic Circulation, amending section 5.01.08 entitled Definitions, amending section 6.06.01 entitled Generally, amending section 7.01.01 entitled Generally, amending section 7.11 or section 711 entitled Home Occupations, amending section 7.12.01 entitled Definitions, amending section 7.14.04 entitled Nonconforming Lots, amending section 7.15.04 entitled Animal Density, amending section 7.17.12 entitled Standards, amending section 7.20 entitled Setback Areas, amending section 7.22.03 entitled Supplemental Standards, amending section 7.25 entitled Recreational Vehicles, amending section 8.03.06 entitled Standards for Conditional Use Permits, amending section 8.04.01 entitled Definitions, amending section 8.04.02 entitled Standards, amending section 8.06.03 entitled Location, amending section 9.01.01 entitled Permit Required, amending section 9.01.05 entitled Definitions, amending section 9.03.02 entitled Specifically, amending section 10.02 entitled Definitions, amending section 10.07.04 entitled Modified Procedure for Lot Split, amending section 12.01.02 entitled Authorization Required for All Development, amending section 12.08.02 entitled Certificate of Zoning Compliance, fulfilling all resolutions in conflict and providing for an effective date. I'd like to, I'd like to start out with, I know y'all have read this. This is actually the third time we've been before, and we kind of tweak things as we've gone through, and I think we have the final version now based upon the last two hearings, but I wanted to first address anything that y'all may have saw that y'all have questions about before I go to any.
Is there anything you as a planner think that we need to do differently right now or something that needs to be
No, I think
changed?
what this board has done is
So-
great, actually.
So, okay, that's what I wanted to hear.
So
I'm
basically,
not saying there might not be
15.
Yeah.
additional things that I would like to maybe talk to the board about in the
In
future.
the future, yeah.
But as far as what for tonight, no, this is amazing what y'all went through for the last couple of years and put together. I commend y'all. Most boards would never do that. So the fact that y'all took the time and did what y'all did and figured out what the county, what their citizens, what was best for Gilchrist County is great, because what y'all have is a much better code once this is adopted than before.
But like you said, in the future, if you see something that you think we can improve on, always come back to us and let us know as our planner.
Yeah, and I definitely think there's some things that I would like to talk with
Yep.
Mr. Bobby and Duke about, and then bring back to the board eventually.
yeah, so Brandon, I think you just answered my question, but this is a result of multiple workshops over a year, looking at our LDRs. And I see where you've added, say, the state statute definition versus what we had, which is just cleaning all this up. And so I agree. I think it's an improvement. There are still some things that I have some questions about, and I don't know if it's probably not the time to do debate all that at this point. But I would like to come back to some of these things and
Yeah, I mean,
discuss.
it doesn't address everything, though, but it did address all the major concerns that this board had. And then we could go back, like I said, and start maybe looking at different other aspects and, come back with additional changes.
I think that would be a good idea. So, do we approve this then tonight, the way this is?
Yes, ma'am.
I would recommend.
We need public participation.
Anybody in the public, want to comment on, resolution 2024-15? It's, if you've been coming to our meetings for a year, you might know what we're talking about. If not, then you probably don't understand, but as she said, and Daryl said, we've been going over our land development codes for well over a year now with many workshops, trying to make them, as good as possible. And I think we've done, as he said, a great job of doing that. Are there some things that still need to be addressed? Probably so. We'll work on those as we get time though. So if there's no comment, do I hear a motion to approve this?
Yeah, so moved.
All right, I got a motion to approve resolution 2024-15. Is there a second? Second. All right, I got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
All right. 15.
And we'll move on to our next one, which is 2024-06.
Now, what's the difference? One's a resolution, one's an ordinance.
It was a resolution recommending approval to the planning and zoning board, and now this is the ordinance that places it in effect.
So this is the ordinance that we just, okay.
Yeah, so,
The other was just a recommendation. This
Gotcha.
is the ordinance.
yeah. So I'll try to make it through this title again.
At the same time.
About what cross out on the first one, but we'll see. All right. Ordinance number 2024-06, an ordinance of Gilchrist County, Florida, amending ordinance number 93-01, the Gilchrist County Land Development Code as amended, relating to an amendment to the text of the Gilchrist County Land Development Code pursuant to an application LBC 2023-02 by the Board of County Commissioners, amending section 2.01.05 entitled Definitions, amending section 2.05.02 entitled Uses Permitted Only with a Special Use Permit, amending section 2.06.02 entitled Uses Permitted Only with a Special Use Permit, amending section 4.03.01 entitled Traffic Circulation, amending section 5.01.08 entitled Definitions, amending section 6.06.01 entitled Generally, amending section 7.01.01 entitled Generally, amending section 7.11 entitled Home Occupations, amending section 7.12.01 entitled Definitions, amending section 7.14.04 entitled Non-Conforming Lots, amending section 7.15.04 entitled Animal Density, amending section 7.17.02 entitled Standards, amending section 7.20 entitled Setback Areas, amending section 7.22.03 entitled Supplemental Standards, amending section 7.25 entitled Recreational Vehicles, amending section 8.03.06 entitled Standards for Conditional Use Permits, amending section 8.04.01 entitled Definitions, amending section 8.04.02 entitled Standards, amending section 8.06.03 entitled Location, amending section 9.01.01 entitled Permit Required, amending section 9.01.05 entitled Definitions, amending section 9.03.02 entitled Specifically, amending section 10.02 entitled Definitions, amending section 10.07.04 entitled Modified Procedure for Lot Split, amending section 12.01.02 entitled Authorization Required for All Development, amending section 12.08.02 entitled Certificate of Zoning Compliance, providing for severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date. And that's the reading of ordinance 2024-06 on first reading.
By
By
title.
title only.
By title.
By title.
All right. Any public comment on ordinance number 2024-06?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Thomas, a second by Commissioner Sharon Langford to approve ordinance 2024-06. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried.
Now, I have a question for Brendan. Are you gonna get us a new land development code book with these changes, so we won't have the strike through?
Yeah, so it'll be, once this is first reading, we'll have another reading by law. So once, we have the second final reading, these will be transmitted to the state and to Unicode. Because, Unicode actually codifies your ordinances and your land development code. Once that's done, we can request fully revised copies of the Unicode if y'all want
So
it.
this don't take into effect until the state approves it, right?
Technically it's approved once it's adopted, so it immediately comes in effect, but you just have 10 days to submit it to the state.
Gotcha. Okay.
But, we'll come back and, I think.
At some point, we'll all be on the same page and we'll have the same updated, brand new land development code book.
And I'll get with Mr. Bobby and.
So we'll have
the clerk.
another reading at another meeting also, you're saying?
Correct, Florida law, because you're changing the permitted uses within zone districts and the regulation, it requires 2 public hearings, in front of the Board of County Commission. So one for the P and Z and 2 for the.
So it's not final until that second, until we have
Correct.
our final hearing, right?
Yes,
Mhm.
ma'am.
Gotcha.
Which will be in October.
In October, okay.
Normally,
Yeah.
county ordinances only require one reading.
Generally, yes, sir, that's correct.
Yeah.
But if you're changing the permitted uses or some other aspect, the statute gives you a couple definitions or things that if you're changing it requires actually 2 hearings. So it's very rare, very rare you have to do 2.
All right, we will move on to resolution 2024-016.
Dash 16,
2024-16.
I gotta find it.
It's right under the final, budget of and MFC's.
It's number 12.
Gotcha, okay.
Number 12.
No, yeah, number 12.
Okay.
Chairman.
Have your amendments and then you have the ordinance.
It's at 5:30.
And this is to address, consistency with state law as far as solar farms and things like that. There are some other things that, is put in here, but I'll go ahead and read the resolution by title only. Resolution number PZ LPA LCD LDC 2024-16. A resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Gilchrist County, Florida, amending ordinance 93.01, the Gilchrist County Land Development Code as amended, serving as the Planning and Zoning Board of Gilchrist County, Florida, and the local planning agency of Gilchrist County, Florida, relating to a 10th Amendment to the Gilchrist County Land Development Code pursuant to an application by Mark W. Shelton of Kimberly Horn on behalf of Florida Power and Light Company, recommending to the Board of County Commissioners of Gilchrist County, Florida, approval of an amendment to the Gilchrist County Land Development Code, amending section 2.04.01 entitled Uses Permitted without special use permit, amending section 2.05.01 entitled Uses Permitted without a special use permit, amending section 2.06.01 entitled Uses Permitted without a special use permit, amending section 3.11.02 entitled Uses Permitted only with a special use permit, amending section 6.05.03 entitled Buffer Zones, amending section 7.26 entitled Solar Farms, fulfilling all resolutions and conflict and providing for an effective date. Now for this, I would like to go back, to, there's a solar farm LDR text amendment strike through underlined sheet that's in your packet that actually tells you what's been changed. So everything that's in red and underlined is what's been changed inside the front of your, this section of your packet. So for the,
Brandon, can I ask, so I think like you said, to be consistent with state law back in, which was passed in 2021. That, I mean, that's the main thing we're doing here, right, is to make our local ordinances consistent.
We talked about doing it for a long time. It never got put into our code.
Right.
yeah, y'all did the
Okay,
comp plan
July
amendment.
1st of 2021, that's what we talked about.
Yeah, y'all recently just did the comp plan amendment, so if y'all recall, that was back, I think, in, July when that was
Right.
adopted, but, so y'all got the comp plan stuff done, so now we're coming back to the LDR, to match the comp plan and be in compliance with the state preemption, that came out in 2021. So, basically for the agricultural, silviculture, the agricultural 1, agricultural 2 through 5, the change was to basically allow those, as permitted uses because state law says you have to. And then the, section 2.11, the industrial, that was already allowed, but it said solar farms, everything's changed to solar facilities. So that was just a word correction.
You change it from farm to facility?
Yeah, I like that better because I don't consider a solar a farm, yeah.
Yeah, so that's just to stay consistent with the wording and everything. Section 6.05, the landscaping buffer, you know, all that's already in the code. We're just changing, the vegetation, type A through D.
So Brandon, related to that, would a facility be required to use type A or?
Yeah, and we'll get into that under the specific regulations.
Okay.
That's actually written in, but that was to kind of give you an idea of what the buffers were, and so that y'all had that information in front of y'all.
I think the way that state law is written, but when I've read it, you can't ask for them to do no more than what you would ask, like another ag, you know, and that's something I have a problem with because, you know, this is a lot different than you know, this is not an ag facility. That's just my opinion, and I hope that's something that the state will look at changing. Also, you know, and also, you know, limiting the number you can have in each county.
Yeah.
But for right now, you know, our hands are tied.
And y'all do have buffer requirements within the ag zone district. So because y'all do require certain ag buffers, y'all can require solar farms to have buffers as well.
And that's why
We do.
solar farms have been putting them in.
Right.
Yeah.
So, while it may not be what you want, yeah, unfortunately, I don't
Just
think.
can't treat them differently.
Yeah, just can't treat them different,
Absolutely.
but do they have to provide opaque buffers? Yes, they do.
So we couldn't, most ag be a certain type A, less dense, and solar facilities be type D, more dense. We couldn't do that.
Mm-mm.
No, and, so, not to skip around, but if you wanna go to,
I have them all
section
written.
7.26.03, if you look at, section A2, it says solar facilities shall comply with the established landscape requirements for ag uses and provide buffers consistent with section 6.05.03 of this land development code. When adjacent to existing residential, public, or recreational uses, vegetative buffers shall be type A buffers. So they're specifying what type. It shall be a minimum of 6 feet in height and shall be comprised entirely of existing natural vegetation, including natural shrubs and grasses. If such vegetation is of significant height and density. If the existing natural vegetation is not sufficient to meet this criteria, then supplemental native shrubs shall be utilized to meet the criteria. Supplemental planting shall be of size and type to ensure to ensure the height and density requirement is met within 12 months of planting.
So if they plant these plants and they die, then what happens?
They gotta replant them.
They will?
They have to maintain that buffer, so if they let them die, they gotta replace them.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, it seems like the power companies have gone beyond what's required. I don't know. Is that true? They're doing more
They
than.
can voluntarily go and do
Yeah.
more. You just couldn't hold their people to fire to do it, you know.
Brandon, I see here also and read that it says, neighborhood meetings shall be held in Gilchrist County at a location that is generally accessible to neighbors that reside in the close proximity of the subject property.
Correct.
I think the last time that Duke had a meeting, they had it in High Springs.
Well, that was one of the reasons that was changed right there, because there were people that fussed about that, even though it was much more convenient to those people to go into High Springs. They said, we shouldn't do that because it's not in Gilchrist County.
So we changed it to, it will have to be in Gilchrist County?
That's correct.
Yeah. I think it showed that, I can't remember exactly where it was, but we'll send a mail notice to those neighbors that are 400 foot.
That's
from-
on B, says mail notice shall be provided
Yeah.
to all properties within 400 feet of subject property.
I'd like to see it more than that, maybe a quarter mile or something, just so that more neighbors are notified by mail. I mean, that's just a suggestion I would have. I don't know if everybody agrees
For
with that.
solar?
Yeah,
Yeah, I have no problem with that.
but I mean, I like the idea of the neighborhood meetings and, making sure everybody's allowed to provide
If
input.
the census of the board, I can change it to 1,320 feet.
That's a quarter of a mile.
Yeah, I like that idea. I would like to
It
change.
costs more money.
Yeah, but at least everybody's notified though. But until the state changes the law, our hands are tied
I
though.
was gonna say, the problem with that, you mail them out, and you spend more money.
Yeah.
There ain't nothing the neighbors can do,
No, that's
but
true.
listen and complain.
So I don't think you wanna wait till after, if the. law
Well,
gets
what they
changed.
could do is provide input on buffers, and the power company may say, yeah, we'll voluntarily do that, or,
Now,
Yeah, but you
they're,
can't ask them to do more buffering than what you would
if
normally.
I understand this correctly, though, they're required to mail these out.
Yeah, they-
That's not a cost to the
Like
county.
The applicant,
The applicant is required to mail.
Then they gotta do this prior to making an application. In order to make an application, they'd have to meet this neighborhood meeting requirement and have the neighborhood meeting. And then there's also like things they have to do, like, they have to sign a sheet with all the people in attendance, written summary, of all the development proposals discussed, comments and all that other stuff. So they have to have minutes and all that other stuff that take place so that we know when they submit what the concerns were.
Do you know any idea what other counties require as far as, is it 400 feet or is it more?
It varies. I don't know that I've seen one 1320, but generally speaking, 400 to 600 is pretty standard.
1320 is a lot. I'll be
Yeah,
surprised if you don't get,
thinking 1,400, well, that could be a lot of people depending on where this
Half
thing
the
is
county.
located.
Yeah, if it's,
it took in subdivisions and things around it. I'm surprised, I'll be surprised if you don't get pushback about that.
yeah,
And, I mean, I just think it's a little much, but I do think it could be expanded beyond 400 feet to 600 feet or
yeah, I
something
mean, I
like that.
understand 400 feet, and again, that was what was proposed by the applicant, I believe, or is that what we proposed last time we were here, but, you could have a situation where if this is all surrounded big parcel, 400 feet may not be the 3 or 4 parcels.
Yeah.
You're right. I guess it depends on
but-
where it's located.
Yeah, and even depending on where it's located too, 13, a quarter mile may only be
Well,
10,
let's-
12, but, you know, if you, it could be a situation if it's surrounded by neighborhoods,
It could
400 feet could be
Oh, yeah.
100 people.
I got one worse than that. If you had that requirement in when Duke built the one here next to Trenton, you'd take in everybody in Trenton almost. You
Yeah,
have to send a notice to, out 2,000 people.
Yeah.
yeah. So it's hit or miss, it's hard to
Why don't we
regulate
increase
that.
it maybe like to 800 then, instead of 400,
Yeah,
That's fine.
800?
Make it double what it is
Yeah.
right now.
yeah. I feel like that's a pretty fair range, I mean, if you're within 800 feet, that's a pretty good distance.
Is that about what other counties kind of do? Is this,
Yeah, most of them are 400 to 600, so 800 would definitely be,
all right, so
Most
4
of
to
that-
600, so this will be just a little bit more than,
yeah. And I don't think that's unreasonably or
No,
unburdensome.
No.
Do you wanna make a public comment, or you just standing to? Yeah, no, I can't. Just stretch. Whenever you're done. Yeah, when he finishes, we'll invite you to make public comment.
Yeah, I didn't know the applicant had some things that they wanted to present to the board as, possible changes that we have in here, but, like I know they had concern about the, notice in the newspaper circulation. And I understand the concerns because as a neighborhood meeting, you're trying to address the neighbors. But if you advertise it, then all of a sudden you got everybody within 5 counties a year showing up, and you got 1,000 people that don't even live in the county showing up over something that, and then they can't address the actual neighbors, which then makes the neighborhood meeting basically null and void and ineffective because they can't address what the immediate neighbors' concerns are. So I understand where they're coming from, so that's another issue that this board may want to consider, and I'll let the applicant go through their concerns on that. As far as everything else, pretty much everything else is written, to address, like the definition of a solar facility was amended, it pretty much, directly reflects from state statute. The other, requirements deal with, impact of state and, regional facilities, mitigation, floodplains, that kind of stuff. It talks about, permitting through DEP and Water Management District and Army Corps, the height restrictions, security fencing, 8 foot, maximum razor wire is prohibited. You don't want razor wire to be a liability. Maximum height, 25 foot. And then one thing you'll also have to have that was not required in the past, I don't believe, is a decommissioning plan. And I know that's very concerned about a lot of people, hey, after 25, 30 years, what happens to all this stuff?
Right.
So this specifically requires a decommissioning plan, which the owner would be responsible for reporting with the Gilchrist County Clerk of Courts. That way it's in the public record, and, you know, if the title search is done, it's gonna come up. And so no matter what happens, they will have to abide by that decommissioning plan. It also gives us, if I'm citing this correct, Mr. Lane, this will give the county the ability to lien the property if they do not comply with the decommissioning plan by the proper date.
Lien the land after you got a complaint filed with the circuit court, and he said you could lien the land.
Okay, yeah. But if-
You'd have standing to bring a case because they're violating the decommissioning plan.
Yeah, that's,
What about some facilities that have leased the land from someone else? Does that mean if they lease my property and put a farm on it and they don't clean it up, they can they can put a lien on my land that someone has leased from me?
That's right.
I'd want to make sure it's cleaned up then, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
It's, well, yeah,
And
pick
it's
a little
recorded.
teeth.
Huh?
And it's in the public records where people have notice of it.
Yeah, Brandon, I mean, I appreciate you putting that in there, and, the question I had related to that is, are there standards for decommissioning plans? Who would review to make sure it's adequate? How does that work?
Well,
Well, county attorneys have done the last three,
Okay.
but I don't know that there's any standards, Daryl, to be perfectly frank. with you.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that is a tough situation because there are no real standards for what happens. Now, more than likely it'd be something we would want to consult, like, if we were reviewing it, say one today, I'll consult with EPA and DEP and see what if they have some best management practices or recommendations, because again, when you're recycling that stuff or you're decommissioning, it's not so much the decommission as it is the disposal. So taking them apart and getting it all, there's a lot of recyclable stuff when you're talking about solar farms. There's all the wire and all that. That's a lot of big money that they can get back for recycling that stuff. The metal, all the aluminum postings and all that, that's a lot of recyclable. They can make money off of that stuff. But the panels themselves, because of the, materials that are used in those are considered somewhat toxic to the environment. So there's certain ways that, they have to dispose of these. And so that's kind of what we would more or less look for. Yeah, I mean, they're gonna say, yeah, we're gonna take it all down, blah, blah, but the main thing we're looking for is how are you disposing of those panels and those, as far as state or federal guidelines.
I wouldn't want them to wind up in our landfill. That's for
Correct.
sure.
Well, none of it would end up in it, would it? I mean, can we, ensure that doesn't happen? Or-
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that we would look for.
Right.
In their decommissioning plan,
Mhm.
how they're gonna get rid of them, and what they're gonna do with them.
Exactly. That would be the number one factor we would look at.
Well, now,
There's already a couple on record we can pull back and take a look
Really?
at it. Boy, yeah.
the other thing that concerns me is you got this decommission plan, you got all this stuff, and it's listed as Florida Power, Duke Energy, whatever you wanna call it. They build all these solar farms. Comes time to clean them up, they sell their company to a China firm and say, we're not Duke Energy anymore. Would that apply to the new company?
It runs with, the restriction runs with the land.
Correct. And that's why it's reported with the clerk report. So it's hopefully, as an owner or the person that's gonna lease this stuff, they're gonna look at this and say, oh, well, I need to protect myself. So obviously it's gonna be something now that as a owner of property, I'm gonna be looking at whoever I'm leasing this to say, what assurances do I have from you? And, I'll make sure there's something in their contract with me that I could go after them if they don't, selling it off doesn't
Selling it off doesn't get rid of the restriction, it just moves it to the next person who buys it.
well, but here's the thing, if I make a lease and a deal with ABC company, even if they sell their rights, my agreement's with them, so I'm going after them and I'm going back to who they subleased it or sold it to. So they're still responsible for it.
There had been talk about requiring to post some sort of bond, but I don't know how you calculate the bond 30 years out or 35 years out. How
And
you,
that's a long time to carry a bond too, and,
Their answer right now, if you ask them what their plan is, they don't have one right now. One of them told me that there's foreign countries out there that would buy them, even though they may not be productive anymore, because they've lived their life. I don't know what they'd buy them for if they're non-productive, but anyway, that was one of their suggestions, a way of getting rid of them is sell them to some, foreign country over there.
my understanding, I'm not an expert on solar, but what the power companies consider non-effective is not typically non-effective. So like if they have a solar panel, it may may deteriorate over 30 years, but they're still a useful life for certain purposes. It may not be for solar power generation facility, but maybe for a house or maybe for something minor out in the middle of nowhere, they can still have some useful life to them. They may not generate the power that the solar farm is looking for.
Well, my research says that day one, they're just like a car battery. Day one, they go down from day one. When you turn them on, they start going down. The expected lifespan is 10 to 12 years, and then they become non-productive to the point they're not worth having, simply because they're not producing enough energy to be sufficient for what your needs are. So it's now time to, it'd be like the battery of your truck. It may still crank your trolling motor and make it run a little bit, but it won't crank your truck.
Correct,
So you still got a battery and it still got some juice in it. It just won't crank your truck.
correct,
That's my understanding of the way they work.
correct, and that's my understanding as well.
Hopefully, if they plan on keeping them as technology improves, they'll put the improvements in.
Well, I hope that in
The
30
unknown.
years, they find a way that they can rebuild these and, make them just as useful as they were new. And so if they come up with a rebuild, recycle program, that would be the best option.
Yeah, we have the
applicant
here.
Do we have food?
Is there anything else y'all want me to address
No,
before we turn over to the applicant?
If there's nothing else, we're on 2024-16,
Public.
land development code. Correct?
Yeah, and the applicant's here.
All right, we had,
Public.
yeah, is there public comment? Did you wish to come up and comment on resolution 2024-16?
Yes, there's something.
Sir?
So two things kind of mixed.
Gotta have your name one more
Oh,
time.
sorry, Jonathan Whiteacre, Gilchrist County resident. So this proposal is not about a specific solar, but the change of requiring a special use permit. So kind of the first thing I wanted to weigh in on is, done special use permits, not here. I just live here, but I got business in other counties. I would, again, not for this, but I would be wary of increasing the distance. I put a school in Gainesville, for example, 400 feet is Alaska County. That's not quite what this is about, but, I mailed out several hundred mailers. Not one person showed up. County boards and all that are super great though. Like I said, if it was in Trenton, I don't know. But, I really oppose the idea. I was doing some research on the kilowatt hours and the payback time of solar farms. And, I grew up in East Africa. We had a solar panel, back then. It was neat because the only way was to get power. They've gotten a lot more efficient now. It takes about 400 kilowatt hours to make one. It'll pay its power cost back in 3.2 years. There's decent money to be made. Here's my worry, with the technology as getting as good as it is. If we blanket bid, it doesn't require a special use permit, and we don't need to go through some sort of process here like we've seen earlier in the day. We might be one of the only counties or a few counties, and that might become our identity, that has something that doesn't require the special use permit. And
That's state law.
That's state law.
This is-
That's
that's not
across
what
the
this is
state
saying.
of Florida. It's not just us.
okay,
It's every county in the state is under the same
the same
law
idea.
that we are.
That became effective July the 1st of 2021.
Yeah,
Understood.
Yeah.
That was my worry, I guess.
it's ours too, but it's nothing we can do about it.
I don't like them per se.
Yeah.
Sure, they might be an efficient-ish way as far as monetary policy of making it. I don't buy the fact they're better for the environment just because of the stuff that it takes to go into it. And so if there is anything that you guys as county commissioners can do whenever, I'm sure if there's one in the county or two maybe, but to keep it from being our land is cheap, let's face it. And if there's commercial interests that aren't in our county's identity, which is agriculture, I don't care if somebody brings in a bunch more cattle. I ride with some friends on some ranches and we move them around and it's a lot of fun and that is who we are. I would say it is my opinion that we're not a solar farm county, and I would be saddened to see
Yeah.
it go that direction.
And
We're
we
becoming one,
all
for sure.
agree with you, but this is all about getting our getting our,
You guys have to accommodate.
we have to
it.
accommodate what and get the writing right.
I'm
So,
still glad I got to kind of
all right.
keep that. If I,
Yeah,
couple
some of
more
the, some of your
different
concerns have been preempted to the state of Florida and taken out of the hand.
I read that the best I could with my glasses on, and I don't speak, you read that whole thing. I didn't know that, and I guess my concern would be is if we were the only ones doing this. I mean, you look at Columbia County, they have a heck of a lot more than us. There obviously is some room for being more open to it than others, and.
Yeah,
so that's-
Jonathan, we have asked our state leaders to take a look at changing the state law that would consider how many a county can handle. We've got 4 of them now. And so we're concerned it's taking up our ag land and,
Which is our, I mean, it's on,
Right.
that's the identity of Gilchrist County, that's why I live
And
here.
that's why we've gone to the coalition of small counties and asked for their help. And we've written letters to our legislators and let them know our concerns, and we're working through a process to hopefully we can control them a little bit more, but right now, we really don't have a whole lot of control over them.
Gotcha. All right, well,
But thank you.
thank you.
All right, thank you for coming and speaking.
Now, for this 800 feet, that is just for the solar facilities only, correct?
Yes, Ms. Lindsay.
Okay.
Okay. Do we have we ready to move on to get a motion on this?
the applicant. Yeah.
Okay.
They would like to have a,
Is there an app?
What, there's an applicant?
Or not an applicant, but.
no, there was an applicant, so this,
Okay.
the comp plan amendment and the LVR text amendment were submitted, by Kimberly Horn on behalf of Florida Power and Light, but the proposals basically updated the comp plan and the LVRs for compliance with state statute. So while, yeah, there was an applicant, it wasn't something that didn't already need to be done anyway. The county.
So this is not approving an application or anything tonight, is it?
No.
Okay, all right.
And they've been very patient. This has been on the drawing board for over maybe 2 years. Long time. This has been pending. This should have been taken
It's
care
to
of.
basically bring us in compliance, am I right?
That's all it's doing.
Right. But there are some things that, the applicant wanted to address the board with.
Okay.
Good evening, Mark Shelton, Finley Horn Associates. I'm based out of Jacksonville, Florida, and I have worked with FRP and FPL, both a subsidiary of NextEra, on close to 15 different solar farms in about 10 to 12 different counties in Florida. And what you guys have done is a great job. Yes, I instigated this by applying to help the code meet state statute, which is kind of necessary anyway. And Brandon and I actually worked together on a couple of solar farms in Columbia County. So he's done a great job. You guys have just done a great job, especially responding to your constituents. FPL and FRP have always done a great job reaching out to the surrounding neighborhoods. They usually take it upon themselves. In my experience, the counties haven't asked them to do it. They just do it anyways and have an open house with every specialist there. And I've been at these, I've witnessed them, they keep record. It's something they're already doing. It's in your code, they're happy to do it. If you want 600 or 800, they're happy to do it. Brandon's right, the newspaper thing, you get too many people there, washes out the local community. You get people from all over coming in and it kind of drowns out those voices. Also on the buffers, most counties will give between 20 and 36 months, and yours says 12 months, which is great, but the availability of those size trees to get immediate buffer coverage within 12 months is pretty rare. There's a lot of development happening in Florida, and a lot of these tree farms sell out the big stuff. You have to get the smaller stuff and give us more time for that to spread out. They always use existing vegetation as much as possible. They subscribe to Audubon Society, make sure they get native vegetation, make sure they get Florida-friendly vegetation, and grow it out as quickly as possible. So they too take extra efforts to sometimes expand their buffer area width-wise to achieve that opacity that you're looking for. So I mentioned these to Brandon. I appreciate you listening to me. Happy to expand it to 600 or 800. Like to see it to 24 months for the planting and for the newspaper advertisement be taken out. Other than that, it's great. Thank you.
Is there, I wanna see them planted. I don't care if they're supposed to be 6 foot and they're 4 foot, as long as they're in the ground and I know they're growing, I can handle that. What happens sometimes is you wait 2 years and then people are impatient because none of this has been planted. At least if things were planted, they could start growing. You could see what's gonna live, you could see what's gonna die, then you could replant. So I'm not for waiting 2 years to plant it. I wouldn't have a problem if the size was a little under what it needed to be. I don't know if there could be regulations on that or not, but, I just wanna see something start going in so that people can see, hey, we're making progress towards our buffer.
Yes, sir. It would
Cause
be,
some stuff last year, some of these farms didn't get planted very quickly. And I had people calling me saying, hey, I thought they were gonna put a buffer around this thing, where are the trees? And
most counties have required that to be a condition of approval. It's for their buffer to be in, just like any other use. They have to be in before you get your certificate of approval.
I'd like to see something like cedar trees in too, because there's one over in Columbia County, up close to my house. They planted those trees, about half of them died, some of them they replaced, some of them they didn't. And it has done nothing for a buffer zone. It's been there probably 5 or 6 years. It looks like the day they done it.
What type of tree we got? What type?
I said if you was to plant something like a cedar tree that would bush out, those provide a real good, or a juniper or something like that, that make a good buffer. Some of this stuff they plant,
Yes, sir. Red cedar is one on our list.
yeah,
And that's our most.
that makes a good buffer,
Yes,
and
sir.
it grows quick,
It grows quick, that's why they get it.
Yeah.
but a lot of these don't have.
pine tree grows quick, but it doesn't make much of a
No,
buffer.
no.
And an oak tree, it takes it 20 years to get big enough.
You're right.
Opacity is the thickness that you can't see through it.
Yeah.
Red cedars do that great job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice border friendly.
All right, well, thank you very much. We appreciate what you do.
So we're gonna not advertise solar facilities in the newspaper anymore?
Neighborhood.
Meeting.
So, yeah, for the neighborhood meeting, they're requesting that the neighborhood meeting not have to be advertised in a paper.
Yeah.
And I understand where they're coming from.
Okay,
yeah.
but the actual, the
Site plan.
SUP will be in the newspaper,
Will it be a site plan?
site plan.
Site plan.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it'll still follow our
Gotcha.
normal.
Cause they wanted
way
to
we've
deal with the
always-
the
Yeah.
neighboring people
That
and,
are affected by it.
yes.
And that would be a
Okay.
mail out, wouldn't it, Brandon? Like a postcard or mail out to those neighbors?
Yeah, so they'll have to still mail the, mailers to everybody within 800 feet. They're just asking to not have to put it in the newspaper, because what they don't want is 100 people from 3 different counties or 4
So
different
mail it
counties.
to the residents by invitation only.
Yeah,
Bring me your card and you can get in.
exactly,
I mean, that's what I would do.
Yeah, cause I mean, they need to accommodate those neighbors that live
Yeah.
around it.
yeah.
I don't want
So the-
people from all over
so
5
the-
other counties.
So then the notice in the paper becomes an issue, because now you're bringing people that you don't want there, which is everybody.
Your neighborhood meeting, yeah.
You can take that out.
Yeah, we
Okay.
agree.
That makes
And
sense.
I have no problem with any of the, proposals that they mentioned. If y'all wanted to move the maturation period for the plantings to 24 months. So, that means that they would have to have them planted, and they have to be a maturation by 24 months. So,
Okay.
it doesn't allow 24 months before they can plant them. They have to be full grown at 24 months.
I could handle that.
Is that what it is for our, buffering for, if it was ag related also? Cause I wanna make sure that we're not,
Consistent. That word consistent.
No, I think it's different.
I believe it's 12 months for the actual ag district.
so I think that needs to, if we change one, I would like it because, needs to be consistent.
I mean, if y'all want to change both to 24, I can look and see what it says for the ag, or for the general buffer section, if it says.
Yeah, I would agree.
24.
Seems more
Yeah, I don't wanna do it
reasonable.
for solar if I can't do it for regular ag, so.
What kind of ag facility would you need a buffer for? Would it be a packing facility or?
Packing shed up next to a residential facility.
Okay.
Landscape buffer.
Dollar General had to have.
Dollar store up next to
They
a
had to have a
residential
buffer.
facility, had to have a landscape buffer.
All right, do we need to move on with this and get a motion for resolution 2024-16?
Are we gonna change both of them? Or no?
Yes, what I'll do is I'll go back and look at what the standard is for everything else, and I'll change it to 24 months and add it to this resolution in ordinance between
And
first
in
and
24
second.
months, we'll do what, Randy?
The full maturation, they have to be a full maturation by 24 months.
Instead of 12 months?
So is that 3 changes?
Is that okay? I mean, you
Yeah,
wanna see
so that-
something growing on day one, or do you wanna wait 24?
Well,
months?
they have to plan it on day
Well,
one,
in 24 months, it should be full grown and out to what the standard.
but it has to be planted though, like
It'll be
before,
planted.
right.
They need to put language in there that must be
Well, it
planted.
must be planted. We want that in there. It has to be
That's what I'm
planted.
saying, because what are you gonna do if they don't do anything?
Right.
And then nothing there in 24
Well,
months?
it says that.
Well, yeah, I mean, the
Complete
code
plan
says that, so
showing
that,
size and type, ensure height and density requirement is met
yeah.
within 24
In other
months.
words, if within 24 months, they have not met that requirement, then that's a violation of their approval,
It's got to be
and that
6 foot,
approval
you
can
have
be
to
revoked,
plan
and
to
code enforcement can go out there and write them a notice of violation. So there's four changes. All right, Mr. Newton. One, amend the distance of mail notices from 400 to 800 feet.
Okay.
Remove the section under neighborhood meetings that requires notice of general circulation.
Which is 3A, we're just removing that completely.
Yep, remove 3A. And then under section 7.26.03, subparen A2A, we're changing that from 12 months to 24 months. And then the other change will be changing, I don't know the section yet, if you want to look it up, but changing the general buffer section for, to require 24, month for, maturation. So that's not in here yet, I'm gonna have to add that in here. Between first and second reading.
To approve this with the noted changes? Is there a motion? So moved. All right, I've got a motion by Commissioner Thomas,
Second.
got a second by Commissioner Langford to approve resolution 2024-16 with the noted changes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
And we're on the final hour here, so.
2024-07.
All right, I'll read ordinance 2024-07 by title only. Ordinance number 2024-07, an ordinance of Gilchrist County, Florida, amending ordinance number 93.01, the Gilchrist County Land Development Code, as amended, related to an amendment to the text of the Gilchrist County Land Development Code pursuant to an application LDC 2024-01 by Mark W. Shelton of Kimberly Horn on behalf of Florida Power and Light Company, recommending to the Board of County Commissioners of Gilchrist County, amending section 2.04.01 entitled Uses Permitted Without Special Use Permit, amending section 2.05.01 entitled Uses Permitted Without a Special Use Permit, amending section 2.06.01 entitled Uses Permitted Without a Special Use Permit, amending section 2.11.02 entitled Uses Permitted Only with a Special Use Permit, amending section 6.05.03 entitled Buffer Zone, and amending section amending section 7.26 entitled Solar Farms, providing for severability, fulfilling all ordinances in conflict, and providing for necessity. This is the first reading of ordinance number 2024-07 on first reading.
All right, any public comment on ordinance 2024-07? All right,
Mr. Chair, I would recommend that if you're approving this, you need to approve with the same changes.
with the same changes,
Yeah.
correct. So we make a motion to approve it, we'll make it with the same changes as noted in the last one. Have a motion?
Yeah, motion to approve ordinance number 2024-07 with the same changes.
All right, we've got a motion, is there a second? Second. All right, got a motion by Commissioner Smith, a second by Commissioner Thomas to approve ordinance 2024-07 with the same changes as, resolution 2024-16. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, board.
Thank
Thank
you
you
very
for,
much.
Brandon?
no, thank y'all for bearing with me. tonight.
In October, right?
Yeah, I want to make sure that when I look at this, but, our anticipation would be the second meeting in October.
Okay.
We bring this back with the other ones. That way we can ensure that all your changes are perfect and that we're not missing anything.
Thank you.
'Cause if
Be
I
October 21st.
change that one to 24 months, I want to make sure that there's no other places in the code that require, so we don't have any conflicts.
So we want to shoot for October
Hey,
21st?
Brandon,
Yeah.
Yeah,
That way we can
October-
go ahead and set the time certain. If we can't do it then but we can hold them at least.
Yeah, October 21st.
That'd be the second meeting.
Yeah.
As of right now, we have no time certains for the 21st.
All right. We'll get with you tomorrow, or the next day, and figure it.
that should clean up most of our outstanding land development and comp plan issues, correct?
Mhm.
Correct.
Good, don't do this to us again.
I got some more for you.
Get it out.
I got some more for you.
That's right.
This been spread out.
All right. Well, we thank everybody for sticking around with us. It is public participation time again. We have a chance at the end of the meeting. If, you would like to address the board, this is your time to do that. Anybody? Well, you got one that would like to do that, so we could,
First, I'm not the fat lady, so I'm not gonna sing. I don't like that comment, Mr. Martin.
I didn't say the fat lady, I said the big lady.
Well, I thought you said the fat lady, so I just don't like that comment.
I didn't mean to, I wasn't talking about you when I said that.
I know you weren't talking about me, but I know that on social media that, that picture has been of someone that was large, standing here, after the election. So, for people my size, I want to say that was wrong. But that's not why I'm up here, okay?
Okay.
I just want to understand,
Wait, what's your name, ma'am?
Miss Dina Griffith,
Say it again?
Miss Dina Griffith.
Dina's right.
I just want to understand the gun thing better. Now that you have, denied it. So they can have all of their friends come over and they can be drinking alcohol now and get crazy. And you can't do nothing about it, right?
Pretty much,
Yeah.
you're correct.
Anybody can shoot guns, as long
Anybody
as,
can shoot guns, we
as long
can't
as you
stop
can-
that,
Yeah,
so.
but they have such a large range that now it could become a different problem than it just be on your own property. That's all I'm asking.
You're correct. That's a valid
I
concern.
just want to make sure I was understanding.
You did understand that, correct?
Yeah,
That was it.
yeah, okay,
Thank you guys
Glad we
for all
could
that
answer
you
your
do out
question.
there. Thank you guys for all you do.
all right. All right, thank you, appreciate it. Any other public comment?
Wasn't really the right time any time to really address what I came here to.
state your name again.
Oh, Jonathan Whiteacre. First of all, I was very, very proud as part of, Abolish Abortion Florida, that Gilchrist County is the first county to officially oppose Amendment 4.
I think there's 11 of them now.
Yeah, well, I think there might be even more than that. I think it's up to 17.
Mhm.
I'm very proud as a resident that y'all were the first ones. I might have some disagreements with some of y'all, but, I say this, we don't have the luxury or the privilege to care about other policies or anything like that while we're under judgment, while we have a dark blot, what I hope in the future will be seen as a dark blot over our nation. So I'm actually very, very proud to be a resident of this county because of what you did there. I work real long hours. I'm principal of a school. I was very happy to, have the opportunity to come here. Number two, I ran to the store. I guess I missed the budget proposal. I'm your neighbor, Mr. Langford. I'm over on probably where you dump off the trash. I live down that road.
138?
Yeah, 130. Well, I'm down 117. So where the fire station on 138 is, I'm back up by the river in there.
Okay.
With the hurricane and some other stuff, the grader, I guess the one grader that we have, I would have a talk with him if I was ever able to, or I would ask you guys to ask him to report back. We got flooding issues, and it doesn't matter how much money, how many dump trucks, I see this as like poor fiscal responsibility. How many dump trucks you do, if the next rain will wash it out, because you got up to 6 inches on either side, after 117th takes a turn. And a couple other places, my work truck, when I take it home, it's a transit van. I mean, it's up on I've smelled smoke up under the hot parts get wet. My Land Cruiser doesn't care, but you know, for people who have a car, they'll dump a load in, and I'm figuring that's a couple $100, and literally the next rain will wipe it out, because we need some trenches along the way. We need somewhere for the water to go. I measured it, it was about 120 feet of water at one point, and up to 6 inches the water wasn't 6 inches deep, but 6 inches on either side. So I'm happy with, you know, the idea of doing the roads better. I would call for kind of fiscal responsibility and doing it smart, like, or if there's a way we can let you know.
Some ditches on each side, yeah.
Whatever it takes to where we're not just wasting money on dump truck loads that do nothing because
Finally,
the water.
we had some places like that at Sun Springs, and we have to have the property owners agree to be able to have a ditch put in. I own the property at Sun Springs, so I allow them to put ditches in, and that place has not washed out since that was allowed.
But
117th is a pretty major dirt road, in that there is, I don't know what the easements are,
Right.
but there's quite a big path on either side. There's one washout. It's not the one that washes out real far, but I mean, it's deep. If you drive straight through it, it's probably at 7 inches of water at that point. Now you can go around it, but if you don't, it's not, I mean, I've got a Toyota Land Cruiser. That's a tough vehicle, and the amount of money I spend on like suspension parts and stuff like that. I mean, it is what it is, what I get for living out there, but, I would just call for maybe a training or a, hey, Mr. Grader guy, look out for this, look out for that. Because obviously they don't come until it's another month, and then they're expecting it to load washed out. That's not the issue I have, is how quick it just seems to be wasted, you know, whatever.
And we put ditches in the, you know, we have the there's enough right of way, because there's several places in my district. We have a, you know, ditch on each side, that way the water is in that ditch. And, you know, it's like a big crown, but the ditch on each side. And the ditch is in the road, you know, it's on the side of the road.
That road, it's gotten worse since I got there. It's actually worse than my neighbor, like the private maintained road that I actually live on. The citizenry does a better job right now maintaining their section of the road than the county is on 117.
But maybe Commissioner, Langford, since that's your district, then
Yeah,
get with him
here's my card, right?
and get with,
Give me a call, I'll come out and take a look at it.
and he'll get with you, since that's his district.
Like I said, I'm not just coming up here to complain. I'm proud to live in this county. It's just something that I've noticed probably is an oversight.
Yeah.
All right,
Yep.
We appreciate you
Thank
coming
you.
and speaking. Come to more if you'd like. We'd love to see people who, love to hear
Get
what's going
involved.
on in the county.
I try to when I can, but like I said, I work in Gainesville, live over here. It's a bit of a trek.
Yeah,
Thank you, guys.
understand. Thank you. All right, any other? I think we're coming down here to an end. Do I hear a motion?
Somebody,
Motion to, adjourn in a second?
second.
All right.